Welcome to another World Cup Fantasy Deadline stream, this time out of Matchday 3, and this is going to be a very popular time to activate the wildcard chip, which is what I've done. It says so in the title, of course, so not so difficult to miss, let's say. We've got 2 hours and 40 minutes until the deadline fully locks in, and it is boiling hot in the UK. The weather is absolutely insane, but I'll do my very best to not melt. I mean, I can't really guarantee that, to be fair, but I'm trying my very best. Now, this team isn't locked in. You should be aware of this by now if you have seen any of my other FPL, UCL Fantasy, Euros, Club World Cup, or World Cup Fantasy content. I want to see the lineups, of course, even though I technically have no players from Group B at the moment. That will be the first group that commences Matchday 3. And you also could structure your team in such a way where you have a captaincy option from every single group, or yeah, something like that, because it gives you more opportunities at nailing on the captaincy, but you also don't want to force it. And if I'm being completely honest, a Bosnian defender against Qatar might look decent on paper, but I just don't trust that Bosnian defense, to be quite honest with you. So that might be a little ambitious, to say the least, and I'll get into that fairly soon. But I've got the likes of Danilo at the moment with Fofana, Dumfries, Hakimi, Somerville, Mane, Vinicius Junior, Saibari. This is what I talked about in my team selection video yesterday. Gakpo, Mbappe, and none other than Lionel Messi. Will he start against Jordan? At the moment, I'm leaning towards yes, but I couldn't guarantee it either way. But ultimately, I don't see him playing the full 90, nor does he need to, but 60 to 70 would be enough, and that's where he could get another brace or hat-trick. I've got Emi Martinez, Tagliafico, Mark Gahey and Rashford on the bench, but there could be several changes, and this team is not fully locked in. It's definitely worth disclosing that. Even the likes of Yamal and Salah in the midfield at 10 million would be very enticing options in the midfield, and up front, Oyarzabal is still solid, Dennis Undav, and there are plenty more that came from. Harry Kane is still a great option, despite him being a horrible 12th man for me on Matchday 2. The less said about that, the better. But I still got a decent return with 109 points. So a green arrow, but still not the rank that I quite want, to be honest with you. So there is a lot of room for improvement there. Thoughts on Masuaku versus Uzbekistan? Not quite what I had in mind for the first question of the day, but I think a Congolese defender or even their goalkeeper could be quite decent, and I think Congo are the better team there, so I would expect them to possibly keep a clean sheet, but it's still not a guarantee. And the thing is, Congo will approach that game a bit differently compared to the ones against Colombia and Portugal, who ultimately have much better squads and star power, but in terms of this game, they might be a bit more open. So I'm in two minds about this one. I think it's a decent pick on paper, and Congo have been very solid defensively, but I think Uzbekistan could score a goal in this match, and it could be quite frustrating for those who even double or triple up, although I don't see many people doing that. Having the one is absolutely fine. Masuaku will qualify for the scouting bonus and is cheap, so it's a decent pick on paper, but I think the likes of Argentina, the Netherlands, England would probably have the best chance of a clean sheet this week, and also the other teams I've talked about in my podcast, and I think ultimately those are the kind of 5 or 6 countries you really want to hone in on for Matchday 3. Thoughts on Kane, Undav and Alvarez as a front three in the wildcard? Yeah, that's fine. Alvarez hasn't looked great so far, but he should start against Jordan. But just like with the Messi thing, we could see him subbed off a bit early. And I think Scaloni will make multiple changes, which is where Tagliafico and Otamendi look quite enticing as budget defenders who qualify for the scouting bonus. But I think with the attack, we could see players sharing minutes and even halves in certain cases. But Alvarez would be more likely in terms of expected minutes compared to Messi. I'm more confident that Alvarez will start, and I think that's a decent pick. Dennis Undav has been brilliant off the bench. Can he do the same as a starter against the best defense that Germany have faced so far? That's another question in of itself. I don't see Undav getting 14 points or more. I think he will probably produce his worst return of the tournament so far, but even 1 or 2 assists, let's say, and getting 8 to 10 points would still be a great return, of course, but I'd be less keen on him compared to how I was for the opening 2 match days. Welcome, Julian. Good to see you. And yes, Baraf, it says so in the title, wildcard deadline stream, so that is the plan in my team selection. I also made it very clear that I'm wildcarding, and it was my sort of strategy from the very beginning. I did sort of flirt with the matchday 5 or 6 wildcard, which can still be very useful for some people, but I'm sticking with the matchday 3 setup here. Salah or Yamal? I'm leaning towards Salah at the moment because he's returned in both matches so far, and he's facing Iran. I think Egypt could win that game, and I'm quite surprised that they only got their first World Cup victory the other day, but yeah, that's something that I found out going into this tournament, or at least was reminded of. But I think Yamal is still a good option against Uruguay. People overlook the Spanish assets like Laporte and Oyarzabal. They are still worth covering, but I think Salah has the more appealing fixture. Hey Dylan, can you confirm if Messi will play or not? I think he will play. Will he start the game? I couldn't guarantee it, but I lean towards yes, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. I've ruptured ligaments and I'm couch potatoing for 2 weeks. Get well soon, Banjo. Hopefully you recover and can still enjoy the football. And yeah, it's definitely not a... Well, it's far from what you want, of course. It goes without saying. And yeah, hopefully you can just get back to that sort of setup and yeah, recover as soon as possible so you can maybe play some football again and not just watch it from the couch. I might even be sort of hiding behind the couch myself if I don't go for Messi in the end and see him start there for Argentina. Luca de Gabriel says, I built this wild card for Fana, Vasilj, okay, Chadi Riyad, Katic, Hakimi, Dumfries, Doué, Yamal, Vinicius, Saibari, Mane, Somerville, and Messi, Mbappe, Gakpo. To be honest, I'd also be concerned about Doué. He's not a guaranteed starter, and I said this going into the tournament. So I would lean towards yes. I think Doué is technically the first choice left winger for France, but Barcola will get plenty of starts and minutes as well, so that could be a concern. Yeah, Messi is the biggest doubt in terms of whether he will be in the lineup or not, but it's a good wildcard squad overall. You've got a few differentials, like that Croatian defender, and you've also got one from Bosnia and Herzegovina, so I get the sort of structure, and it maximizes your captaincy opportunities a little bit. So overall, I think it's well thought out, but I'm just not a big fan of the Bosnian defense. And even with Croatia against Ghana, I think Croatia could concede, actually. Ghana have been very solid defensively, no goals conceded in this tournament, but yeah, they've only scored the 1 against Panama, but so did Croatia. But I think this game will be a bit more open between Croatia and Ghana on matchday 3, so that's why I'm not really going for any Croatian defenders right now, but maybe you're onto something and I'm overlooking them a bit. Welcome, Paredes. Hey, Dylan, thoughts on having Bruno Fernandes and Nuno Mendes double up on my wildcard versus Colombia? I just think it's a tough game to call. Ultimately, I think Portugal are the better team, at least in terms of star quality, but Colombia have looked better in this World Cup so far, at least across both match days combined. And I think this is going to be a low-scoring game regardless, but I could see both teams getting a goal. So I just would avoid all defenders entirely. Obviously, Nuno Mendes scored that brilliant free kick. Bruno Fernandes created a few chances, and yeah, he also got the assist, but I'd probably avoid them. So Bruno Fernandes, for example, in the midfield, you've got Somerville, Saibari, Vinicius Jr., Yamal, Salah. There's plenty more where that came from. Even Rashford could be more enticing with the fixture. And defensively, I'd avoid all Colombian and Portuguese assets for sure. But I get it. It's also something a bit different, if you will, but they're still quite template in the grand scheme of things. A lot of dead teams are flying around, and I don't really see the gains from going for these two players being high enough to really warrant that sort of inclusion in the wildcard, in my opinion. So if you feel differently, you got to go for your gut and you know, sort of block out the noise, but I'm just not really feeling it with Portugal or Colombia this week. Well, Mane's in my squad at the moment. You can see it on screen. I'm not a massive fan, but he got the assist on matchday 2 against Norway. I think with Senegal, if Sarr was a midfielder, I'd be all over it, but he's classified as a forward, which puts me off big time. So yeah, with Mane, I'm not so sure. That's giving me PTSD. Kane, 12th man. That's what I just did. It would have been much better to do it against Panama, to be honest. But yeah, rotation on matchday 3 kind of put me off. I always saw matchday 1 or 2 being better. Obviously, for some people, it worked out really well. Not for me there. But I think Kane against Panama will start, and I think it's a great option. He'll probably score a brace or hat-trick, and I'm going to try and find a way to sneak Harry Kane into my setup, but that also means dropping one of Mbappe, Messi, or Gakpo. So that's not going to be easy. Why Messi when Argentina is confirmed to be on rotation? There's a 12-day gap between the round of 32 fixture for Argentina and matchday 3. And like I said earlier, I think Messi will start and maybe get 60, 70 minutes. maybe even just a half. I know it's a massive risk, and that's going to be a big talking point in the stream. Does Messi start or not? I can't guarantee it. It's just ultimately a game of opinions, but I think there is still a decent opportunity. It's his last World Cup, and he's on absolute fire right now. And I think Messi's the type of player that you just keep on playing when he's in that sort of form. And benching him against Jordan, which is another opportunity for him to get more goals and for Argentina to build more confidence and chemistry. Look, they're going to make a lot of changes and give the fringe players some opportunities, like Otamendi, for example, but I think Messi still has a good chance of starting, and there's no one else like Messi, really. So it's kind of a different kettle of fish compared to any other player. I get the sort of arguments about resting him, not taking any precautions, but I'd be very surprised if he didn't play any minutes against Jordan. Obviously, we want him to start in order to sort of go for that pick, and I think there's still a decent chance that will happen, but it's ultimately my opinion, and you got to back your gut on that one. Are you worried about not having Ivory Coast attackers? Not really. I think it's very spread out. There's no standout option in that Ivory Coast attack. I might even go for 2 defenders, or Fofana and Agbadou, for example. Singo is a doubt. He was subbed off against Germany in the 82nd minute, so that could be a concern. But yeah, Amad Diallo, classified as a forward. I mean, he's not a bad option, a bit like Sa. They could still be quite feasible options, but yeah, in the midfield, Diamonde, good player to watch, but his end product is kind of lacking. But it is Curaçao, of course, but we saw Ecuador be very wasteful against them. I think Ivory Coast will make the same mistake. They'll score 2 or 3, in my opinion, but who will score the goals for sure? I couldn't really tell you. Yeah, fair enough. Doué the defender, it's not bad. I'm not against that. There's also Agbadou. Yeah, if it's Desiree Doué the midfielder, for those who have him, I'm not really going to be on board with that. Why no Kane or Yamal? Because you can't have them all, mate, to be quite honest with you. Safest England defender to pick? Probably Mark Gay. And I say that after he was benched on Matchday 1, but he's the player I'd probably highlight. I think O'Reilly will start over Spence, but would I call him the safest pick? Not necessarily. Mane or Brahim Diaz? Mane. Torn between Mane and Rashford. I'll be honest with you, I think Mane will go above 5% ownership, which is a shame. Difficult to say. There's more confidence in Mane starting, but I think Rashford will get the nod here, and he's not going to get the full 90. I'd be very shocked if that happened. I think he'll probably play 70 minutes, but against Panama, I could see Rashford doing very well. I'm going to lean towards Rashford, but that's also a riskier pick. Appreciate your answer. Such a pleasure having you with us in this World Cup. Thank you, Paredes, and hopefully you make the right decision, so to speak. Sometimes you can make good calls and the points don't really go your way, but I think it's always important to improve our decision-making process and enjoy World Cup fantasy as much as possible. So big up to you as well. Welcome, Paul. Hi, Dylan. Great to see you again, mate. Likewise, it's amazing to see members of the channel, also patrons and subscribers all tuning in, and familiar faces here, like Safer as well. Hey, Dylan, hope you're well. Yeah, it was also for me. Kane, 12th man. I just didn't expect it from England. I mean, Ghana had a lot of problems going into this tournament, obviously missing some key players due to injury. Many different factors, also some unrest in the dressing room. And against Panama, they weren't great at all. And with the England performance against Croatia, maybe I'll sold dreams. I thought they'd carry that over to Matchday 2, but we have seen England struggle sometimes in terms of starting tournaments and winning the first 2 games. They've only done that on 3 occasions throughout their history, including the 1986 World Cup. So, yeah, England can sometimes do that to you, sell your dreams, and then let you down. Once knockouts start, everyone will own Mbappe, Messi, Kane. I think that'll be the template front 3. I alluded to this in my team selection video yesterday. I didn't say the names outright, but that was basically the front 3 I was referring to. Is there ever a world where Neymar's a consideration? Maybe this match day. I think he could start on match day 3 against Scotland, but it's not an absolute guarantee, to be honest. And the Rafinha injury opens up the door a little bit, but his minutes will be very high risk anyway, even if he starts. There's the possibility that Rayan gets the nod as well. Vinicius Jr. will be on the left, and obviously they'll have to change things up a little bit, but Neymar could be the attacking midfielder over Lucas Paqueta, but I'm not so sure because he's been out for quite a while now. I personally don't think Neymar starts, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Something to look out for, which is unrelated, you could say, but Ochoa should be the starting goalkeeper for Mexico, not Rangel. So for those with the Mexican goalkeeper Rangel, I would make the switch there, especially on the wild card. Are you certain that Oyarzabal will start? Well, Spain haven't guaranteed top spot. So I think he'll start. He was subbed off early against Saudi Arabia as well, like Yamal. So both of them will get the nod against Uruguay. And it also changes the bracket and who they could potentially face in the round of 32 and beyond. If Spain lose to Uruguay and results go against them, they could face Argentina in the round of 32. So I'm pretty sure Spain will go quite strong. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. To be honest, I just don't see that happening. Steve says, I'd love Argentinian coverage. A, because I want them to do well. Thank you very much. And B, captaincy option. But is Alvarez or Cunha a better choice? Yeah, Cunha's another one who I haven't mentioned today. I really like that pick. We saw what he could do against Haiti. I think if Alvarez starts, he still has the better fixture against Jordan, who are ranked 72nd in the FIFA rankings. Scotland are in the top 30 to 40, but ultimately, I think Brazil will win and score 2 or 3 goals against Scotland. And I think Cunha and Vinicius are the best Brazilian assets right now, especially with Rafinha injured. But yeah, it's a close one. I wouldn't say it's clear-cut, but my preference is going to be with Julian Alvarez, and I think he will start against Jordan. Using wildcard in this match day is basically a limitless then. Well, not limitless, because that would mean you have no budget restrictions, but it would basically be like the free hit from FPL, because you still have to adhere to your budget of 100 million. We get a family increase on match day 4 for the round of 32, and that's why I'd recommend using the qualification booster. But you can also make substitutions here, so it's different to a limitless or, you know, in the context of UCL Fantasy where you cheap out your bench and then put all your funds in the starting 11. It's different here, so it would be like a free hit. So, Agbadou seems in doubt as well. Yeah, I'm going to have a look at that. I haven't seen that rumour, but it's definitely worth having a look, and that's why things aren't locked in for me, to be honest with you. But yeah, maybe Doué or Conan would be a better choice. Yeah, I saw one predicted lineup just now that has no Agbadou in the starting 11. So definitely one to look out for. Diomande and Kasunu are almost certain starters there. But I'll play around with quite a few different teams and stuff and options. So this is another one, for example. So for Fofana, Agbadou could be replaced, Dumfries, and then Shadi Riyad instead of Hakimi. And then Rashford, Somerville, Salah, Vinicius Jr., Saibari, Gakpo, Mbappe, with Pickford, De Kuyper, Otamendi, and Messi on the bench, but not locked in by any stretch of the imagination. So if we go to the transfer section and maybe make a few other changes here. So in terms of goalkeepers, I'm looking at Fofana, Emi Martinez, Pickford, Bono. That's probably the top 4 for me. People have mentioned Alisson. He's not too bad, but when it comes to Brazil and their defense, I'd rather go for a Danilo or even Douglas Santos because they're cheap and they qualify for the scouting bonus. So that makes a lot of sense if you want that Brazilian defensive coverage. Hakimi versus a Moroccan differential defender is a big debate for me because Hakimi has 30 attacking returns for the national team, but he will not qualify for the scouting bonus. I think that's very safe to say. But the likes of Chadi Riyad and Mazraoui will, and any clean sheet will give them a 9-pointer there. So that's where the appeal for a cheap Moroccan defender comes into play. I still like Mark Gay, despite the fact that he won't qualify for the scouting bonus. One of Tagliafico or Otamendi also looks pretty decent. Denzel Dumfries is almost locked in my squad. He should start for the Netherlands. And whilst you've got Van Dijk and even Verbruggen in goal, who'd be in the top 5 in the conversation for this week, I still think Dumfries with the attacking potential will always be the pick of the bunch. As for the midfield, Somerville looks decent. I mean, if you want that sort of Group C coverage, or I should say Group D, actually. I'm losing count on my groups at the moment. But for USA's group, maybe Enciso for Paraguay could be decent. He's got returns in both matches so far, so very consistent from him. Sadio Mane, Salah, Yamal, Saibari, Vinicius Jr., even an Elise or Dembele would be quite decent. Marcus Rashford isn't too shabby, and the same goes for a Rodgers or Bukayo Saka, depending on who's touted to start. But I think Rashford will be in the lineup for England on the left-hand side over Anthony Gordon. Up front, I mean, Messi, if he starts, is probably the best player in the game for matchday 3, even with limited minutes. Mbappe, Cunha, Gakpo, Undav. Maybe you go for Amad Diallo or Sarr. They're not too shabby. Obviously, Diomande in the midfield is also worth considering, but with Ivory Coast, I don't really have that much confidence in terms of their attacking players, in terms of who's going to definitively score the goals and get the big hauls that you want. It might be shared between them, so that's where the big doubts come into play. So let's refresh this and go to the transfer section again and get rid of Agbadu, because it looks like he would be a potential absentee, at least not a starter for Matchday 3. So let's get rid of Agbadu here and go for maybe Conan or Due. Yeah, Due, 3.9 million, not too bad. Obviously, Conan's 4 million. They're both very attainable. But that could be another way to go about it. I'm not a big fan of the Belgian defense, despite their clean sheet against Iran. A goalless draw there for the Devils. Yeah, not particularly great from them. But the Kuiper got 9 points. He qualifies for the scouting bonus, so that's not the worst pick in the world. It's worth bearing in mind, though, he played 32 minutes on Matchday 1 in that 1-1 draw against Egypt. So not the safest of picks when it comes to minutes as well. But I've got a few polls out on my channel, and this could also help you in terms of your decisions. But before I do that, let's go to the World Cup Fantasy Mini League. If you haven't done so already, be sure to join. There's an auto-join link in the description, and also a code for you to copy and paste to the FIFA app or the website. Go to the play zone on FIFA, and that's how you can play World Cup Fantasy. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I think Undav, I mean, I've said it for quite a while now. I think he will start against Ecuador, but as bad as Ecuador have been offensively, they've conceded 1 goal across 2 matches, and they've been very solid in the World Cup qualifiers. 5 goals conceded. They beat the likes of Argentina 1-0 in their last World Cup qualifying game. I think they also got results against Brazil. They're very solid and tough to break down. So I think for Matchday 3, Germany should win the game, even with a rotated side, but it's not an absolute give me. I think there's a chance Ecuador get something, and they need to in order to progress. So my prediction, which I said earlier, is that Undav won't produce a double-digit haul. I don't think he'll be as good as he was for the first 2 match days, even if he gets more minutes. And that's the beauty of World Cup fantasy and football in general. You just can't really put logic to every single situation all the time. I don't want to go Messi. I don't want to jinx him in Argentina. Thank you very much. If you feel like you're going to jinx him, then do the world a service and don't go for him. Haaland, Kane, Oyarzabal. Harry Kane for me. Erling Haaland's been brilliant in this tournament. Only Messi has scored more fantasy points, but he's facing France. Even he said it himself, will probably lose the game, and France are going to go very far in this tournament, which is quite surprising for him to say, but he's an honest character, it seems. I like Oyarzabal against Uruguay. I don't mind having one of him or Yamal, but probably not both in this context, and Uruguay need to get a result here. It's not looking good for them, but Harry Kane, despite the blank yesterday, is probably the top 3 when it comes to forwards. I'd even rank him above Mbappe this week, which might sound crazy. I know Mbappe in the World Cup is a different beast, but yeah, Mbappe's facing Norway and Harry Kane's facing Panama, so I'd lean towards Harry Kane here. Thanks for the super chat, Paredes. Any useful under 3.7 defender? There is, although at the top of my head, I will need to double check some of them, but there is the Canadian defender, Fugaroles. He could be okay. It's just, I'll be honest with you, between Canada and Switzerland, I'm not necessarily anticipating a clean sheet there. It's just, he has done fairly decent, you know, for his price, but he's not really someone I'd go out of my way to invest in. I get why you're saying this, because you are looking for a facilitator and enabler, but yeah, I'd have to, well, go through the list and see if there's anyone who springs to mind. So let's see if I can find someone 3.7 and below. Yeah, so far, not so good. I would have talked about Ngoy, but he's obviously suspended after the red card against Iran. So we can figure about him, of course. This might be decent, actually. Vuskovic against Ghana, 3.7 million. And yeah, he's linked to Brighton, actually. He's probably my favourite from the ones I've seen so far. I mean, a lot of the others aren't even starters, or they don't play for a good enough defence. Yeah, I think that's the standout for me at the moment, and if anything else springs to mind, I will tell you, but yeah, probably best not to overcomplicate this. Yeah, the rest doesn't look good from what I've seen. Maybe I've skipped somebody, but Yeah, that's something for the live chat as well to jump in on. That'd be a very interesting conversation. Defenders at 3.7 million and below. Obviously, for a little bit more, you can bring in an Ivory Coast option like Due or possibly Conan. They could be fairly decent, but obviously they're not 3.7 million or below, which is a bit of a shame. But I'd say Vuskovic, he offers pretty decent value at 3.7. Okay, so let's get out of the World Cup Fantasy League. But before I do, let's answer the rest of Paredes' question. So squad is Pickford, Fofana, Otamendi, Dumfries, De Kuyper, Hakimi. Yeah, you got Hani at the moment. I'd replace him with Vuskovic. Saibari, Salah, Somerville, Vinicius Jr., Yamal, Sarr, Mbappe, Gakpo. Yeah, good squad. Obviously, I talked about my concerns about Sarr earlier. Missed a big chance against France, but he's getting the opportunities. Obviously, the brace against Norway was impressive, a massive return. But with Senegal, yeah, you got Mane and Sarr. They're the standout attacking options, but I think the forward classification puts me off. I'm not sure if I'd go for Sarr over some of the other forwards I've mentioned. Probably over Dennis Undav this week, to be fair. But there's also Amad Diallo, kind of a similar theme there. And then all the others I've talked about, the big hitters, Mbappe, Harry Kane, Messi, Gakpo. But there's also Oyarzabal and plenty more where that came from. But good squad overall. I would replace Hani there at 3.7 million and below. Thank you, Steve. It was my hunch. Good luck. The same goes to you. Why Rashford when Eze will play? Not necessarily a guarantee, mate. And Rashford is a better left winger than Eze. And at least for England as well, Rashford tends to deliver. Eze, we haven't really seen too much of on the international stage. Isn't Konsa better? Yeah, he was a bit lucky, by the way, not to give away the penalty against Ghana. That, for me, was very blatant. But, yeah, Konsa would be the preference in terms of the cheaper price tag and the lower ownership. That's why I said my team isn't locked in and there are a few things to iron out. Even Hakimi versus Chadi Riyad or Mazraoui. That's another debate to have. Do you go for the scouting bonus opportunity or the defender with 30 goal contributions for his country as well? So I think there are debates all across the board, and that's going to be another one. I'd be more confident that Gay starts on Matchday 3, but I think Konsa's still going to be first choice for England as well. But I haven't actually seen any predicted lineups for the Panama game. But I would assume Konsa starts there. Okay, so will Due start? Is that Desiree Due? I think he will, but I'm not fully convinced about that, and the minutes are going to be all over the place, in my opinion. Yep, agreed. I think Due will start. I mean, Singo is more of a centre-back anyway. I mean, he can play across the defensive line. We talked about him a bit in UCL Fantasy earlier this season, but yeah, Due should start. I'm very confident about that one, if we're referring to the Ivory Coast defender. Sid says, your suggestion of Somerville and Saibari, highly appreciated last week. I'm glad to hear it. I wish I went for Somerville myself. I lost out on 8 points by going for Yeboah. Huge jump in my mini-league. Who is more essential, Oyarzabal or Yamal? I don't think any is essential, but if I were to bring in one, it's probably Yamal. Oyarzabal obviously got 15 points. He was the star of Matchday 2 for Spain. But I think Yamal could have a great match against Uruguay. And with the forward line, you've got so many options there. So that's why there's no space for Oyarzabal at the moment. So Kim, Yahya, Mazraoui, Van der Ven, Chadi Riyad, Lee, Han, Micheli, Somerville, Mane, Saibari, Vinicius, Lamine, Mbappe, Messi, Kane. Yeah, good squad. Obviously, you've got a lot of differentials in your defensive line. I'd consider changing some of them up. I mean, for example, with Van der Ven, I mean, fair enough, he's cheap, but I'd really recommend Denzel Dumfries if you can. I just think he's worth the extra millions, and yeah, you're not going to get scouting bonus from him, but you could get a lot of points in the process. I'm actually not sure what Van der Ven's ownership is, so I'm going to have a look. Yeah, 4.3%, fair enough. I'm pretty sure Van Heck will be similar, maybe a bit lower. Yeah, 1.5%. So yeah, I think you're doing quite well with that pick. It's not a bad one at all. Just a bit concerned about the other defenders you've got. Even Micheli. Obviously, I've got the Kuiper at the moment, and I'm not completely sold on that one. So there is probably room for possible changes. Yeah, I don't know about Kim, to be honest with you. I'm guessing Yahya is Fofana from Ivory Coast. I don't think I'd pick Kim, though, as one of your goalkeepers. But the rest looks pretty good. I'm kind of nitpicking here. My main issues that I have are in your defensive line. Do you think the Netherlands could win the World Cup? Yeah, they could. I don't think they will, but stranger things have happened. They are the best footballing nation to have never won the World Cup. I think that goes without saying. They've produced some of the best players, even coaches of all time. Many influential players in the game, like Cruyff, Bergkamp. I mean, the list will go on and on. I just don't think they have enough quality to win the World Cup, to be honest. I think Argentina, Spain, and France are the best three teams right now. And despite the draw yesterday, I still think England can go quite far. You can't discount Portugal because of the quality they've got, but they faced Uzbekistan. Let's see how they do against Colombia. That'll be a good barometer for them. But those are the kind of nations that stand out to me overall. And definitely the first three I mentioned, I think they're the most likely to win the World Cup. And Spain and France are probably most people's favourites with good reason. I think Konsa will start, and also Rashford, but I'm not fully convinced, and that's why Rashford could be sold. But obviously, to say this in Spanish, Francisco, creo que Konsa va a empezar el partido, y para mí Rashford también, pero no tengo confianza total. No puedo decirlo o garantizarlo para vos, pero en este momento Rashford está en mi equipo, y es posible que Konsa va a estar también, pero digo la verdad, hay muchos cambios que puedo hacer de ahora hasta el deadline. Hey, do you think Bruno to Yamal swap is worth the -3 hit? I probably wouldn't do it for a hit, but I do like Yamal against Uruguay. If I was wildcarding and I had to pick one of them, it's Yamal all day long. But is it -3 point hit worthy? Maybe not. Yeah, Robbie could be okay. That's another overlooked option, but I'd rather go for Gakpo, to be fair. I think he's got a bit more about him with the assists as well. Very consistent for the Netherlands. Obviously, Robbie hasn't played too much for his national team. I think Messi, if he starts, Mbappe's more likely to start, by the way. I think that goes without saying. He's the safer pick. But when you look at the fixture and also what Messi's doing right now, yeah, I think Messi would be the one. But the minutes aren't going to be secure. Even if he starts, there's a possibility subbed up for half-time or after 60 to 70 minutes. And yeah, Argentina played towards the very end of the match day, which is not ideal. Hey, Dylan, is 8 scouting bonus players enough? You don't need to go out of your way to have like 10 plus. So 8 is fine. I've got 6 at the moment, and obviously a few players were scouting bonus eligible before the last couple of days. But I wouldn't look too much into it. If you've got 5 or 6, that's already pretty good, actually. Having 8, which is more than half your squad, some people might see that as like, well, you're kind of forcing it. But it depends on which players we're talking about. And in a lot of cases, they've got great fixtures this week. So I think that's a fine balance, to be fair. Just don't bring in players for the sake of scouting bonus only. Only bring them in if you genuinely believe they're going to get 4 points or more. Otherwise, the scouting bonus eligibility is completely useless. Will Somerville and Brobbey start against Tunisia? I think so. The Netherlands haven't guaranteed top spot still. Obviously, Sweden have 3 points. Japan are doing quite well as well. 4 points on the board, and the Netherlands too. So, yeah, they should start. Somerville is obviously a bit of a fringe player, or at least I should say he's like a 12th man for the Netherlands. He's not a guaranteed starter, a bit like Trossard for Arsenal, but I think he will this time round. I'm not a big fan of Kessié. He scored against Germany, but he's more of a defensive midfielder. I think for Ivory Coast, I'd rather go for Diomande or Amad Diallo up front. Yeah, I'm not really looking at Kessié, but to be honest, anyone from Ivory Coast except the goalkeeper will realistically have the chance of scoring against Curaçao. Yeah, I saw that The Economist predicted Netherlands to win. I still don't think that'll be true, though. Lee Kang-in, or Kang-in Lee, best Korean mid against South Korea. Yeah, I think so. He's got a bit of quality about him. Yeah, I think he's my favourite from South Korea. Probably over Heung-min Son as well. So that's a decent shout there as well. Don't worry about scouting bonus too much. They were all toilet for me. When it goes right, I mean, the scouting bonus is a nice boost, but you can't just base your decisions entirely off that. Yes, Tiger, I am wildcarding. It says so in the title, and I talked about this in my team selection video yesterday. The wildcard is active, and I could make further changes. Brobbey is a doubt. Coman raised doubts about whether the Sunderland striker could start against Tunisia. He has a slight hamstring problem, so that might be a setback. Yeah, thanks for that update. I wasn't fully aware of that quote, so that's obviously good to have in mind. I also prefer Gakpo regardless, but obviously that would push me even further in Gakpo's direction. let's go now to a few different screens since I've been answering questions for the past couple of minutes. It's been a while already. Let's go to a report by an Argentinian journalist which says that Messi wants to play against Jordan. Yeah, Pessi, yeah, stat pad merchant, whatever people want to say, but it makes sense. And there's a 12-day gap for Argentina between match days 3 and 4. So I think Lionel Messi will start. Not a guarantee, by the way. I have to keep stressing this. It's just my opinion. For example, I think Argentina will rotate for the most part, so Tagliafico and Otamendi should get the nod there. But I think with Messi, it's a bit different, and we could see him in the starting 11 for match day 3. Now, a really good resource for World Cup Fantasy is actually called WCF Scouting. So that's a really good one. You can track live ownership and see which players will go above the 5% threshold. So, for example, Reece James is no longer bonus eligible. Mazraoui is on the wire, and so is Facundo Medina, who could be benched anyway for Argentina. I think Tagliafico will start over him. Lisandro Martinez, no longer bonus eligible. I don't think he's going to start anyway, by the way, for match day 3. I think Otamendi will, and we could see Senesi or a fringe centre-back start for the Albiceleste. But yeah, you can see a few other examples. Kobel and Ryerson are now bonus eligible. Brahim Diaz went over the 5% threshold. Victor Gyökeres is now bonus eligible. Somerville has gone above 5% ownership, which I said would happen yesterday. I mean, that was the worst kept secret in World Cup Fantasy. So I put a few polls out on my channel. So do you think Messi will start against Jordan? It is very, very close. 52% of you have said yes, and 48% have said no. And I think that kind of reflects my opinion on it. Maybe I'd be a bit more 60-40 in Messi starting, but I couldn't really guarantee it. Now, in terms of a differential Moroccan defender or Hakimi, almost 3/4 of you have voted for the Paris Saint-Germain right back, who has 11 goals and 19 assists for Morocco throughout his career. An incredible record there, and also an African Cup of Nations title, which is very controversial. But let's stay away from that topic for a little bit. And let me show you my team selection graphics. So this was what I talked about in my podcast yesterday, and it also includes a updated review of match day 2. So both my goalkeepers returned. Vargas was on my bench with 7 points against Congo in that 1-0 win, whilst Ecuador were held to a goalless draw by Curaçao. In my defensive line, Mojica got a clean sheet. Kimmich was the letdown there, and Laporte was the standout with 12 points. He got an assist, qualified for the scouting bonus, but that isn't the case now with 6.3% ownership. In the midfield, though, James Rodriguez has been so frustrating. 1 point. He had a really good shot from distance earlier today. He created a few chances as well, and he was subbed off around 58 minutes. So I think James Rodriguez wasn't a terrible pick, but it just hasn't worked out whatsoever. Bruno Fernandes, template, he did his job. Obviously blanked on match day 1, but he made up for it a little bit against Uzbekistan in a 5-0 win for Portugal. And then obviously I had Yeboah. That was a big mistake on my part. I went for him over Somerville, who didn't start against Sweden in that 5-1 win, but he still scored and assisted. And now it's Tunisia up next. Vinicius Jr. was one of my first captains. He got 12 points with a goal and assist. I didn't switch to captaincy, though, to Oyarzabal, who I had in my 15-man squad. But just before the France-Iraq game, I had a feeling that Mbappe would score a brace or hat-trick. I went for him, and he outscored Vinicius by 1 point. And after that, I was content, and I kept it on Kylian Mbappe, who has 16 goals in 16 World Cup matches. I mean, we can all enjoy Messi breaking the record for now with 18 goals, but yeah, Kylian Mbappe will break that record either in this World Cup or the next one. It's only a matter of time. But I had Erling Haaland, who scored a brace. He matched Mbappe once again. Only Messi has more World Cup fantasy points than the Norwegian robot, who has 58 goals for Norway in 52 matches. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oyarzabal was my standout player with 3 goal contributions in 1 half against Saudi Arabia. But Harry Kane, 2 points against Ghana, and that was a horrible use of the 12th man chip. Having said that, I still think Harry Kane is a great option against Panama as a captaincy pick or as your 12th man, so I wouldn't lose hope in Harry Kane. He might still find my way into my matchday 3 setup. But Vargas, Elvedi, yeah, these players are getting sold. Let me tell you that for free right now. Oliveira and Rafinha, who is injured and he's probably missing the entire World Cup. All of them will be sold, and I'll be making wholesale changes on the wildcard. But a really good score, 109. But there are crazy scores flying around in general, 110, 120, 50. I mean, yeah, some absolutely ridiculous scores flying around. But it was a green arrow for me, and I think if I went for Somerville and a better 12th man, I would have been really cooking this week. But yeah, I'm kind of nitpicking at the moment. It's still over 100 points. You can't complain. And it's very competitive, or as Mbappe likes to say, competitive, because we're seeing amazing results all round in World Cup Fantasy. And it's not easy, let me tell you that as well. Now, in terms of transfers, Galindez to Emi Martinez is definitely on radar for me, but there's also Bono, who doesn't qualify for the scouting bonus, Jordan Pickford. Fofana will qualify, though, from Ivory Coast as things stand, but he's very close now to 5% ownership. I'm a bit concerned about that one, so maybe it's worth going for Doué or Conan from the Ivory Coast defense if you really want that potential clean sheet against Curaçao. But Argentina have been amazing over the past 5 years, and Emi Martinez has obviously been a big part of that. I think he kept his 49th clean sheet, or is it 43rd, in 61 matches for the Argentinian national team, and he's going to break Romero's record. I mean, his numbers speak for themselves. More trophies won than losses. Yeah, I mean, Argentina are certainly worth covering, but would they rotate their goalkeeper as well? That's something else we'll talk about very soon. But Kimmich to Hakimi or a different Moroccan defender is also on the cards for me, and I think a scouting bonus opportunity could be found there, but Somerville will not be one of them. He has over 5% ownership now, and he could be my Rafinha replacement, so to speak, and that gives me a lot of money in the bank, and that's where I could do something like Oyarzabal to Lionel Messi or Harry Kane, who isn't in my normal squad, of course. He was my 12th man, and a very bad one at that. But Lionel Messi with 5 goals in 2 matches against relatively decent teams in Algeria and Austria, and now he's facing the worst squad on paper in Jordan, who are ranked 72nd in the FIFA rankings, but Messi is ranked number 1 in the football history books. So he might come into my squad finally. Not having him has been very costly, of course, in World Cup Fantasy. But this is my provisional team for Matchday 3, with Fofana in goal facing Curaçao. And I've got Dumfries up against Tunisia, and possibly Hakimi facing Haiti, with Saibari completing the Moroccan double-up. I've got Somerville there as well for more Dutch coverage. And also Danilo and Vinicius Jr., but I think the 2 picks that stand out as sort of replaceable here are Danilo and Sadio Mane, who is facing Iraq. He could be fairly decent there, and he still qualifies for the scouting bonus, but only just. This front three is also very tough to beat with Gakpo, Messi, and Mbappe, but there's also Harry Kane as well, knocking on the door. Denison Duff has caught everyone's attention, but I think he will possibly blank against Ecuador. I just don't see him getting a massive return. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but 14 points and above, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Undav will not do it this time round. Oyarzabal is still good. Amad Diallo, maybe Brobby, as some people mentioned, but there are some doubts about his fitness. I'd rather just go for Gakpo and Somerville for the Dutch attack, and you've got more options in that defensive line, of course, which I've talked about earlier. But for Argentina, it's Otamendi, Tagliafico, and probably Messi, and obviously Emi Martinez in goal, should he start, which I'm not entirely sure about, but that is my bench at the moment. Emi Martinez and Tagliafico with Mark Gay and Rashford. If I wanted another scouting bonus player, I could do Mark Gay to De Kuyper or possibly Konsa to have that like-for-like England defensive cover-up. So with the captaincy, it's not locked in because you basically captain 1 player per group. And I've got no one from Group B, so for the first 7 matches at the moment, I would have no option there with the armband. But when it comes to Brazil and Morocco and their matches, I think it's a very close call between Saibari and Vinicius Jr. I might even switch to Saibari, to be honest, and I still got some big hitters, either Messi or Kane, maybe Gakpo, Mbappe. So, yeah, eventually I should get something, and that's why the maximum captainship, in my opinion, is best used on match day 7 or 8, which I've been very consistent about from the very beginning of this tournament. I might have gotten the 12th man wrong, but I think with the maximum captainship, I'm making the right call for sure in terms of saving it for later in the competition. So that's the breakdown of my team selection and some of the thoughts I've got going into match day 3. And now let's go back to my World Cup Fantasy squad on the website and also covering some of your questions too. So it's between this and possibly this. I'm quite keen to get rid of Danilo. And for those that are tuning in maybe a bit later, Albadou is a doubt for Ivory Coast. I think they might manage his minutes a little bit. So I might change him to a different Ivory Coast defender. And I've already got Fofana in goal anyway, so that isn't completely locked in for me. An Ivory Coast, Senegal, or Brazilian defender. I still prefer the Ivory Coast defender, to be fair. But I think between Senegal and Brazil, I'd still lean towards Brazil. Rumours are Messi will play 45 minutes. If you have a link, by the way, let me know. I'd like to sort of verify the source a little bit, but I could see that happening. Messi starting and playing 45 to 60 minutes, which could still be enough, by the way, for a massive return. Yeah, I think Fofana will probably lose the bonus. I need to refresh the page and see. It is really hot in London. It's 35 to 36 degrees. I've got like 2 fans on. Let me know if there's any background noise, by the way. I did some tests. It didn't seem too bad, but yeah, it's crazy. My room in particular is like 40 to 45 degrees. So yeah, it's a kind of madness here. Lewis Mark says Messi will start. Yeah, and I agree. The best player I've ever seen. Messi or Mbappe, I covered that. Messi for me. El Canus, a good punt. I wouldn't say it's a bad one, but I'd lean towards other options, to be fair. The scouting site, I'll drop a link. Let's just do that quickly. So just go to the live chat now and you'll see it. Update on Nathaniel Brown. Sport 1 believe the 23-year-old is suffering from minor problems in the abduct area and will likely be arrested as a precautionary measure. Yeah, I'm not too surprised about that. I mean, yeah, they're going to rotate anyway, in my opinion, so it makes a lot of sense. Should I drop Gakpo and start Messi, Mbappe, and Kane? I think Gakpo's a great option this week against Tunisia. I could see him getting a few returns again. In terms of minutes, he'll be safer than Messi, but you don't get any better than him, in my opinion. So it's a tough one, but it's between those 4 forwards for me. I think that's going to be my front three. It's just about dropping one of them for the other, and that's a very tough call. But I think it also depends on what you can do with the extra money. So if you go for Gakpo in the forward line, what can you do in the midfield? Can you go for Yamal and Salah or Vinicius Jr.? That could be quite enticing. Well, I think De Bruyne on paper is a good option, but he was very disappointing on match day 2. He missed some big chances, and yeah, he should have done much better so far in this tournament. Yeah, what I meant by that was 150 as a crazy score, not 50, just to be clear about that one. Hey, Dylan, any bargain Belgian defenders likely after Ngoy's red card? Well, I've currently got De Kuyper as my sort of like possible Belgian defender. I'm not entirely settled on that one, though. But yeah, Ngoy was the one I was looking at 3.7. Maybe Micheli, who's from Club Bruges. That could be decent. Obviously, someone mentioned him earlier as part of their wildcard setup. But yeah, Micheli's 3.9. That would be the one, I think, if you still want that really cheap option. The best 12-man options this match day. Gakpo, Messi, Harry Kane. Mbappe is always a good option. They would stand out. Salah isn't too bad. I think Harry Kane is number 1, though. Lamine Undav or Messi Rashford? I prefer Messi Rashford, even though Yamal and Undav should start. They're more likely than the other duo. Sarr or Messi? Messi. Once again, there's no guarantee he starts. He could come off the bench and do really well there. He might play 45, 60 minutes, then be subbed off. Even him playing any minutes, like, it's not an absolute guarantee, but I just see it, the big gap, almost 2 weeks between Argentina's matchday 2 and 3 fixtures, sorry, matchday 3 and 4 fixtures, as being very substantial. So it makes sense to give Messi some rhythm to keep him fresh, and he's in such great form that it makes sense to give him some minutes and playtime, in my opinion. Yeah, Rayan could start for Brazil, but it's not a guarantee, and his minutes are going to be all over the place too. I think for Brazil, you're looking at Vinicius or Cunha, maybe even both. Defensively, Danilo's my favourite, but there's also Douglas Santos. I'm not really convinced about the rest, though. If playing the wild card, can we set our team now and save transfers and then make changes until the deadline? well, yes, just like with any other fantasy football game, that's what you can do. And I'd recommend wildcarding now if you haven't done so already, because to be quite honest with you, there could be issues with the website. We saw some issues over the last couple of weeks. Maybe not as bad as last year with the Matchday 1 ghost deadline, but it's still pretty mad sometimes. Yes, it says so in the title. I've been very clear about this all stream. I am wildcarding. I wouldn't say Messi is expected to start, but it's 50-50 up in the air. I'm leaning towards yes. He's still not guaranteed in my final squad, though. I'm not a big fan of Korean defense, to be honest. If you want to go there, then be my guest, but I'm just not so sure about it. That's why when someone mentioned Kim, I was saying not for me. And yeah, I think a triple up is way too much, but that's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong about it and they keep the clean sheet. You've got to back your gut on that one. If you feel like 3 is too much, maybe go down to 2. But if you're backing the clean sheet there, then you've got to, you know, sort of stand your ground and go for your own picks there. Yeah, both Messi and Yamal are good 12-man options. I'd rather go for Messi out of the 2. Harry Kane is one of the best captaincy options and 12-man picks this week. I kind of wish I saved it for Matchday 3 now, or pick someone else entirely for Matchday 2. Mane is over 5%. Yeah, no surprises there. And also Mane wasn't really guaranteed in my squad at any point, so I am looking at potentially offloading him. Someone asked me about Kamada last week, and I said, look, that goal against the Netherlands, he didn't know what was happening. It was kind of a similar story for Matchday 2 as well, but he's in the right place at the right time. I still don't really see him as like a must-have a World Cup fantasy asset, or like, wow, he's the best Japanese option now. I actually think Nakamura is better, and Ueda up front. So yeah, if I wanted to have a Japanese option, it's probably going to be one of those two. I think Kamada will blank on Matchday 3, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he continues his fine run of form and luck, but I don't think Kamada will return here. Is there any reason to keep Mbolo? He's done quite well over the last 2 match days, but facing Canada, one of the host nations who have looked very impressive in the group stages, yeah, I just don't really see Mbolo's ceiling being that high compared to other forwards I've mentioned continuously throughout the stream. I haven't played my wild card. I still have Wirtz, Kimmich, Balogun, and Haaland in my team. I think Haaland will start. I'm not sure about the other 3. I think 1 or 2 of them could be benched, but yeah, I'd wildcard now if possible in many situations. There might be someone out there who is in a very good position this week and doesn't need to wildcard. Even last year in Club World Cup Fantasy, I used that chip for Matchday 3, and my non-wildcard squad actually outscored it. So I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, Dylan. Once again, you absolutely fucked it up. But yeah, I still think for a lot of people it makes sense to wildcard now. Obviously, there is the added benefit for saving it for Matchday 5 or 6, where if you get things horribly wrong with your unlimited transfers on Matchday 4, and you have a lot of eliminations and stuff, you can just like wildcard out of it. You're bailed out, and it also allows you to pick differentials and, you know, players from teams you might expect to be eliminated, but you still think they'll do well for that particular game. So that's where the wildcard being saved could come into play. I talk about this in my chip strategy guide and how to play World Cup fantasy video, but I would play it now in your situation. Thank you. Hey, it's Darren. What's a good midfielder to replace Yamal with and pair with Kane up top? Well, obviously we discussed Salah earlier, and if I were to pick another 10 million midfielder apart from Vinicius, I think Salah might be the one I go to over Yamal. But obviously this side, Bari, who I'm pretty sure you've got on your team already. Somerville, yes, he's over 5% ownership, but he's still one of my favourites. I think Rashford could be quite decent. I'm backing him to start. It's more of a risky pick, to be fair, but I think the ceiling is certainly there for you. Maybe Diomande, having the Ivory Coast coverage. People have mentioned Kessié. I'm not really on board with that one. He's more of a defensive-minded player. He is a bit box-to-box sometimes, but he's not really what I have in mind for a World Cup fantasy asset. Sadio Mane, although be aware that he has gone above 5% ownership. One of Saka or Rodgers could start. I think with England, it's not entirely set in stone, but Rashford's the one I'm looking at in the heart of the midfield. So those are plenty of options there for you. I would lean towards probably Salah and Vinicius Jr. at a similar price tag. And if we're looking a bit cheaper, I mean, based on the ones you don't have, from what I remember, yeah, I think you've got quite a lot of choices there, but I would have a Dutch midfielder for sure, and Somerville is probably my favourite. Yeah, Saka could be an option, but I just don't see him playing 90 minutes, and you don't need that necessarily, to be honest. But yeah, with Saka, he's had fitness issues all season for Arsenal, and it's a big shame. Quality player, much better than Madueke, I think that goes without saying. But yeah, I think with Bukayo Saka, I'd rather go for Rashford. And that answers this question as well. Yes, I think Rashford will start, not an absolute guarantee. Well, I talked about Salah already. I think it's because Egypt can be unreliable, but in this World Cup, they've been fairly decent so far. Thank you, Andres Miranda. Hola, Dylan, tengo a Gakpo, Kane y Cunha. ¿Qué piensas debería poner a Mbappé? Me gustan los tres, pero si tuviera que sacar a uno, sería Cunha. Y pondría a Gakpo, Kane y Kylian Mbappé, que es una bestia en mundiales, 16 goles en 16 partidos. Ojalá que Messi tenga el récord, pero no creo que va a durar por mucho tiempo, sino en este mundial va a ser el próximo donde Mbappé romperá el récord, desafortunadamente, pero es un muy buen jugador, ya lo sabemos. Está jugando contra Noruega, que es un equipo bastante fuerte, pero Mbappé puede anotar goles contra cualquiera. Sid says, one from Cunha, Oyarzabal, Gakpo. I like all three, but it would be Cody Gakpo for me. And with the assumption that Messi starts, which is what I'm currently thinking, I would say Messi. Now, just to be completely clear and transparent, there is a possibility I avoid the risk, keep Mbappe, and sell Messi. But if Messi gets 60 minutes, I think he could outscore Mbappe still, who would probably play the 90 or if not 80 minutes against Norway. So it's a tough call, really. I think it's a very tough one. Harry Kane might be the safest pick in terms of a combination of expected minutes, the high ceiling, the great fixture, all combined. So maybe Kane is the best forward for Matchday 3, but I'm just looking at Messi, and in limited minutes, he could still do the job against Jordan. Saka or KDB? I'm going to say Saka, but he is noticeably more expensive. Why Gakpo over Oyarzabal? He's facing Tunisia, while Spain are facing Uruguay, who have been poor in this World Cup, but Tunisia have conceded 9 goals in 2 matches, and the Netherlands look very impressive across both games in terms of their attack, scoring 7 goals so far. Yeah, Jude could start. He is definitely the first choice in that position, but this is where a few fringe players could come into play, like Rashford and Morgan Rogers, so I wouldn't completely lock that in, to be honest. What do you think of Zico in the midfield? And I'm torn between Messi and Alvarez. Well, Alvarez is the safer pick. I think he's more likely to start than Messi, but yeah, Messi, he's scoring every Argentina goal right now in this World Cup, and he's on another level to everybody else. So for me, Messi is the one. I think he will start, but it's not a guarantee. With Egypt, Salah's my favourite. Obviously, he's 10 million. He's not exactly cheap, is he? But yeah, I think a cheaper option could work. Obviously, you've got Trezeguet as well as alternative attacking options. Marmoush hasn't stepped up yet in this tournament. I think he will for Matchday 3. He's being overlooked a little bit, but Salah's the pick of the bunch for me. And I know he's very expensive, but he would be the one I'd go to quite naturally. So yeah, with Zico, that could be an option. But when it's talking about like budget midfielders, Somerville's the one I'm really looking at. No Spanish players. You can't have them all, mate. Safest England and Argentina defender. I think Otamendi for Argentina. Possibly Tagliafico. I think both of them will start. Argentina have secured top spot already. Remember, it's after points scored, obviously. It's going to be head-to-head. Then it goes down to goal difference. And yeah, Argentina will finish top. So they're in a good position here to rotate quite heavily. I think for England, you're looking at one of Konsa or Mark Gahey. I'd probably go for Gahey. For what it's worth, I think O'Reilly starts over Jed Spence, but it's not an absolute guarantee. I prefer Oyarzabal. Yeah, USA still have something to play for. That's not a bad point there, but yeah, I don't know. There's something is probably like in the back of my mind about Balogun. Obviously, I told people after Matchday 1 that I'd be a bit cautious about him, and look, he's still a good option on paper, but yeah, I'm just not entirely settled on that one. But yeah, with USA, I haven't seen any predicted lineups for them. Yeah, I don't think Balogun's in the predicted lineup. So let me have a look. Obviously, someone mentioned it earlier in this stream. Mm. But yeah, there is a possibility that Balogun doesn't start. I just want to see the exact reason why. But that's something we can discuss, obviously, later in this stream. But yeah, I think the answer for me is going to be quite clear. Oyarzabal. Yeah, I think O'Reilly will start. Do you think I should use my 12th man, or is the knockouts a better choice? Well, Matchday 4 is not a bad time to use the 12th man, but that's where I'd highly recommend the qualification booster, because it gives you 2 additional points for every player in your starting 11 who goes through to the next round. And it's also easy to predict those matches. There are more one-sided affairs on Matchday 4 compared to the rest of the knockouts. So, yeah, with the 12th man, I'd use it now if you aren't wildcarding. That'd be my advice, and Harry Kane would be probably the pick of the bunch for me against Panama, even though he let me down big time last time out. Why did you have Tagliafico instead of Medina Martinez? Because Argentina have qualified in top spot. They're not going to play their full-strength team. Scaloni will rotate. That's what the reports are saying, but Messi could be an exception to that because, like I said, there's a 12-day gap, and he's not going to play the 90. That's safe to say, but I think he'll get a half, maybe even 60 minutes, and we all know what Messi can do, but he's not locked in my team either. But Tagliafico was actually going into this tournament as the starting left-back for Argentina. Otamendi's going to be a safe pick as well for Matchday 3, but beyond that, Romero, who's actually a doubt, by the way, he was subbed off due to injury against Austria. Yeah, there's no real need to risk Romero, so that's where Otamendi comes into play as well. And I think Martinez could be benched too. And by the way, Medina, he got booked against Austria, so 1 more yellow and he will miss the next game. Yeah, I just don't really see him being risked against Jordan, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I think when it comes to Tagliafico and Otamendi, I think both of them will start. Not for me. I'm not looking at South Korean players, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong. So, South Africa haven't been great in this tournament, but yeah, the South Korea defense doesn't fill me with confidence. I think both teams could score there. Yeah, I think Alvarez starts. Dylan, ¿por qué Gakpo sobre Oyarzabal? Sí, porque está jugando contra Túnez, que comió 9 goles en 2 partidos. Y bueno, para mí Uruguay está bastante flojo y creo que España va a ganar. Ya dije que Oyarzabal y Yamal son buenas opciones para esta jornada, pero creo que Holanda está mejor posicionado para hacer muchos goles contra Túnez, comparado con España jugando contra un equipo como Uruguay que tiene historia en mundiales, así que para mí es sobre la potencial y el equipo que está enfrentando. Thoughts on starting Sarr instead of Messi? Not for me, mate, but it's not just about Messi. I might go for Harry Kane instead, to be quite honest with you. Sarr's not a bad option. I've talked about him a few times, but I'm just not a big fan of him being a forward. Why is everyone betting on Tunisia loss? Well, because they've shipped in 9 goals in 2 matches, mate, and they're facing the best team in the group in the Netherlands next. Bono thoughts? He's over 5% ownership, but he's still good. Not everything is about scouting bonus. Yeah, I think Bono's absolutely fine, to be fair. I'd rather cover Morocco defensively with Hakimi or a differential defender, to be honest, so that's why I'm not going for him, but he's still in the top 5 goalkeepers for Matchday 3. Yeah, no Kane for now. Once again, you can't cover them all. I just said a few minutes ago he might come in for me. Is Freeman a good option? Possibly. I still don't trust the USA team in general, particularly their defense, but it's not a bad pick. Yeah, Vinicius is a decent 12th man. Not exactly what I'd have in mind. I think Scotland could still pose some problems. I'd rather go for the likes of Messi, Gakpo, Harry Kane, and all the others I've mentioned for the 12th man earlier. Why isn't anyone talking about Neymar? Because he's been injured for a while and we don't know what Neymar we're going to get. I think with Brazil, it's Cunha or Vinicius Jr. for me. Yeah, I talked about Nakamura and their striker Ueda. I'm not a massive fan of Kamada, to be honest, but he has scored in both matches so far. I've said this before with Japan. They've got a good team. They're very fun to watch, but in terms of fantasy, their goals could be spread around quite a bit, and they don't have a clear standout fantasy pick as a result. Yeah, I just mentioned 2 of them, Otamendi and Tagliafico. They're not going to be guaranteed starters in the long term, especially Otamendi. But for Matchday 3, Argentina will rotate. They'll both come in. If you won't play your wildcard right now, when is the best time to play it? Matchday 5 or 6, depending on the context for your team. When you've got a lot of eliminated players and stuff like that. Maybe suspensions as well. I'm not a massive fan of Kamada. I said this before Matchday 2. And yes, he ended up hauling, but I'm going to stick with my guns. I don't think he'll score on Matchday 3. Yeah, 3-4s on the wild card. Kane, Gakpo, Mbappe. Messi comes into the conversation as well. I'm probably going for 3 of those 4. And it's just about dropping the right one, if you will, which is not going to be an easy task. Hopefully we get clarity on Messi before the deadline. I just can't really guarantee that. I'm not sure if that's going to happen in the end, which is a shame, but ultimately Argentina play in 4 days' time. So, yeah, I just don't really see that being revealed, but hopefully I am wrong about that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, it's been a while, by the way, is a little intermission. Be right back. So in a couple of minutes' time, call it a hydration break. So, yeah, I'm going to do that. Not long term, you know, that's not my plan, but it's desperately needed. It's literally boiling in here, 40 degrees in my room probably or more. Yeah, I am melting as we speak, but I'll be back in a few minutes, and keep the questions coming, and I'll be answering everything, especially from members, patrons, and the super chatters. So don't worry about that one. And very soon I'll be tinkering with some more transfer plans. I'll be providing the lineups as well for the early matches at 8 p.m. So Group B will kick things off. So that's going to be quite interesting. We've got Canada against Switzerland and Bosnia facing Qatar to commence Matchday 3. So I'll be right back very soon. The hydration break is over. Yes! Well, yeah, it was much needed, to be honest with you, but hopefully you're still here, and thanks to those that are still waiting very patiently. So, there is a lot to get through, of course, in World Cup Fantasy, so let's keep things ticking along. We still have plenty of time to lock in our final wildcard squads and also transfers, but yeah, there are a lot of question marks flying around Matchday 3, but I saw a few weird comments. I'm going to go through them very soon. So, first and foremost, let's go through the super chat by Armband. Thank you very much. Going super differential, 15.3 million in the bank. Bloody hell, mate. I mean, I've never done that myself, but fair play to you. I actually want to see your team. I'm very curious about it. But yeah, let me know in a non-super chat, and we can yeah, have some fun with that one. Is Matchday 4 unlimited transfers? Yes, you get a family increase to your budget. So for the round of 32, you can still only pick 3 players per country. And yeah, that's the way it works, actually. 1 second, by the way. Let's see if I can sort some of this out. Cool. All right, that's all sorted. But yeah, 15.3 million in the bank. Bloody hell, man. That's just absolutely insane, to be honest. Thanks for the super chat, obviously, Ahmad. And yeah, I'm kind of stunned by that. Is that in Spanish or in English? Yeah, it's in Spanish then. Mbappé, Kane, Gakpo o Mbappé, Oyarzabal, Gakpo. Así que está preguntando Harry Kane o Oyarzabal. Y va a ser Harry Kane para mí. What do you think about Nemecha, Dylan? He has been very good in this tournament. He's a quality player. In UCL Fantasy, he was very underrated as well. I talked about him quite a bit during the league phase. I wouldn't go from against Ecuador. And obviously, I kind of talked down Undav a little bit early in the stream. I still think he's a good option. He's going to start against Ecuador. But I just think the opposition that Germany are up against, and also with the rotation possibilities there, yeah, I'm not so sure if it's even worth going for Nemecha at this point. But maybe for the knockout stages. Why Rashford, he hasn't been starting? Well, because we're a Matchday 3, mate, and things are going to change there. And Gordon didn't play well against Ghana. Rashford obviously made a big impact off the bench against Croatia on Matchday 1. And I said this before, this team is not locked in. Rashford is a risky pick. Even if he starts, the minutes aren't going to be secure. So, yeah, it's not something I've penciled in completely. Yeah, thoughts on Bellingham? I'd rather go for Harry Kane to cover the England team. Then one of Rashford, Saka. That's probably what I'd sort of lean towards. Maybe Rodgers. It just depends who's going to start there. Obviously, Bellingham is the first choice attacking midfielder in this tournament, and he played very well on Matchday 1. He technically won the Player of the Match award yesterday, although he himself admitted that it wasn't deserved. But yeah, it's not a bad option. It's just, I'll be honest with you, at a similar price tag, I think there are better options for Matchday 3. I'd go for Kane over Sarr. Yeah, it was a big disappointment yesterday, Harry Kane, but I'm still backing him to make amends there. Yamal for Salah. I'd lean towards Salah. Yeah, I think Salah's the one between those two. He doesn't qualify for the scouting bonus, but against Iran, with returns in the last 2 matches, I think Salah could do fairly well. Oyarzabal or Ronaldo? I wouldn't go for Ronaldo now. I said this before. Match days 1 and 2, particularly the Uzbekistan fixture, that was what you wanted him for. Against Colombia, we'll see how he does. And obviously, you can never discount Ronaldo, but I just don't think the ceiling will be quite there. If this was FPL, who would you captain and vice captain? From the squad you see on screen, I would captain Messi. Either him or maybe Gakpo. I think that's how I would go about it. And yeah, naturally the vice captaincy will be on the other one. But Messi's obviously a risky captaincy pick from that sort of FPL perspective. But yeah, in this one, kind of a similar story, to be fair. Not much different. It's going to be the same captaincy options as well. But we don't need to worry about that. Just captain the play features first. For those that don't know how World Cup Fantasy works, check out the How to Play guide. Everything is broken down there in a lot of detail. But yeah, Messi, it's still right up there for me. And for those that have him, Harry Kane might be number 1 this week, despite what he did yesterday. So I might bring in Harry Kane in the end. Freeman, USA, or Mechele? Probably Mechele. Netherlands and Japan will battle for a lot of goals, depending on Brazil, Morocco. I don't think either team wants to face Brazil this early. I mean, it's not exactly the Brazil from the past, to be honest with you. But yeah, every team has something to play for, or at least the vast majority do. Argentina technically don't, but that's a very rare situation and circumstance, which not everyone has the sort of luxury of doing. Need a mid under 6.3 million. I don't mind Nakamura from Japan. He's not too shabby. There have been a few others that I've talked about as well, but that's one that springs to mind. Yeah, I think when it comes to midfielders at 6.3 and below, that's one of the main ones I'd go for. I think with the others, I'm just not sure if they even start on Matchday 3. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the standout ones for me, Nakamura. But you said 5.3, right? Yeah, he's 5. Yeah, he's actually above that. He's 5.5. Even Kamada is above the price threshold we're talking about. Obviously, someone mentioned Zika from Egypt earlier. Not entirely sure about that one, but he has returned quite well. Obviously, 14 points against New Zealand. Yeah, it's kind of slim pickings, to be fair. That's why Somerville has kind of naturally stood out to me. I made a big mistake going for Yeboah in the first place, but we'll forget about that one. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that one, hopefully, because there are other options. There will be a budget midfielder who ends up returning, but I just don't think it's clear-cut. Thoughts on Trossard? Yeah, he created 5 chances for De Bruyne in the previous game. Trossard can have great matches, and he's very hot and cold, but when he's on it, he's a good player to watch, and he's got a lot of technical ability. I think he could do quite well for Belgium, and he is overlooked a little bit. So in terms of scouting bonus, it's your best chance, I think, in that Belgian team. Obviously, De Ketelaere isn't a guaranteed starter, but I think Trossard's a bit further up in the pecking order. He can play on both flanks, and I think Doku comes back in. De Bruyne is obviously going to be the big-name player, but I think Trossard is fairly decent. Dylan Hydration Break sponsored by Arsenal's Trophy Cabinet. We did win the Premier League, mate, and by the way, it's a bigger trophy cabinet than Chelsea. Fofana will be over 4.9%. Yeah, he probably will. I'm going to go to the transfer section now and actually refresh the page. So let's see if things have modified already. I think it probably has. Yes, 4.9%. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great, to be fair. Yeah, Agbadu's going to make way, by the way. I just don't think he's a guaranteed starter. So yeah, that's why I could make a few other modifications to my squad. So if you haven't done so already, drop a like on this stream, subscribe to the channel. We are closing in on 40k, and we've made big strides today already. So let's keep on pushing towards that objective, and check all the links in the description. There's my Patreon and the championships, access to my videos, prior to comments, and many other perks. And there's also my Discord server, the World Cup Fantasy League, and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review there and follow me on that platform too. Hey Dylan, if we skip Alvarez and Messi over managed minutes, is there any other attacking midfielder to cover Argentina? I mean, maybe Nico Bass starts. It's a bit unclear. I'm a bit more certain about defenders like Tagliafico and Otamendi. I'm very confident they will start. I can't really say the same about the rest of the team. Even Emi Martinez could also, yeah, be a similar story where we see the second choice goalkeeper like Rulli get into the lineup, although I still think Emi Martinez starts. How about Sabitzer? It's not the best of fixtures against Algeria, but Austria are probably the better team. And Sabitzer has a good record for the national team, but he had great form going into the World Cup. I think he scored in 3 consecutive games, and now he's blanked in 2 matches, but he's pretty decent. Vinicius or Saka? Probably Vinicius. Hi, Dylan. Visser, Gakpo, Brobbey, or Alvarez, Gakpo, and Dav? It's going to be the other one. So Alvarez, Gakpo, and Dove. Gone for 4 under 5% selected team. I'm not doing that, to be honest. I did answer this question, Kyle, already. Probably Messi, but we don't need to worry about that because it's not FPL. Kane or Messi? Kane is a bit safer, to be fair. I think Kane is a bit safer, actually. But, yeah, I think my forward line is very tough to sort of settle down because, look, if I had the sort of certainty of Messi starting, then he's going to be in no matter what. But I don't have that sort of context or full assurance to really say that. I think Harry Kane is going to start against Panama for sure and probably score a brace or hat-trick. So, yeah, Kane might end up coming into my team, to be honest. Thank you, Josh John. Always good to see you. If you could pick just one, would you go for Rashford or Mane? Rashford is the riskier pick. He really is. But I think in this context, I said Rashford earlier. I remember that I said that. But just because of the minutes, maybe Mane is the safer pick. You got to be careful in a game like this where rotation is already rife. I think sometimes just picking the players with high expected minutes is going to be the safe play and probably the better one as well. Gakpo or Kane? It's not clear cut. I think Gakpo is a really good choice, but I think Harry Kane, if money's no issue. 2 hits or unlimited chip? I just use wildcard. Hi Dylan, thoughts on me picking Kane, Gakpo and Sarr with the Metch and Bellingham in the midfield? Yeah, great front three. Not many qualms from me about that one. There are so many options up front. Obviously, with Sarr and Senegalese and even Ivory Coast attackers, I'm a bit sort of unsure about the complete standouts there. And I'm not a big fan of Sarr being classified as a forward, but I think my main concerns with you actually is in the midfield. I'm not sure if the Metch starts and England could go for Rodgers for matchday 3 over Bellingham. And yeah, if Bellingham starts against Panama, great pick on paper, but I'm just a bit unsure about that one. So thanks, Falcon, for being a member for 7 months. Hi, thoughts on Fofana, Bono, Dumfries, Doué, Hakimi, Gehi, Otamendi, Somerville, Vinicius, Lamine, Saibari, Mane, Mbappe, Gakpo. Need one more forward, 8.1 in the bank. That's where, yeah, you've mentioned some of them already. Cunha and Oyarzabal would stand out. I'm not entirely sure if Balogun starts on matchday 3. He is first choice most of the time, but I just don't have a great feeling about that one. So it's going to be one of Cunha or Oyarzabal for me. Undav has been brilliant in this tournament, but against Ecuador, I think he'll struggle a little bit more than he has done in his previous matches. So I would go for probably Cunha. He just about edges it over Oyarzabal for me, but very close. Yeah, I think Mbappe will start. He's fairly nailed on. Not 100%, but I think he will get the nod. Thank you very much. Love the content. Who would you prefer, Diomande and Salah or Mbappe and Somerville? Mbappe and Somerville, but both duos are pretty decent. I haven't seen the Messi 45-minute tweet. If you have a link, drop it in the chat and I can go through it. Just like the lineups, which reportedly are in. Let me just have a look to confirm. Yeah, I think they are already done. So let's go through that first. We'll start off with Switzerland and Canada. So for Switzerland, Kobel, my best friend Elvedi, who has been amazing in World Cup Fantasy. Akanji, Ricardo Rodriguez, also Luca Yaquez, Freuler, Manzambi, Xhaka, Sao, Imbolo, and Vargas. And for Canada, one of the host nations, Crepeau in goal, Johnston, Fugaroles, Cornelius, Laria, Schoner, Saliba, Larin, Jonathan David, the hat-trick hero, Buchanan, and Ali Ahmed. And then you can see the substitutions on screen. Let's now go to Bosnia versus Qatar. The lineups are also out for this game. So Vasilj in goal for Bosnia there. Obviously, some people have mentioned him in the live chat earlier. Kalazanac, Katic, Radelj, and Malic, Basic, Suncic, Demirovic, Dzeko, Alabegovic, and Badrak Tagaric. I think I said it before correctly in my predicted analysis video, but maybe not this time. And for Qatar, Abunada, Miguel, Lay, Gaba, Cookie, Albarake, Budiaf, Fatih, Junior, Aliados, and Akram Afif. All of them are starting. I'm also going to show the benches, but you can also see that on the FIFA website, of course. And no one of fantasy relevance for me at the moment because none of them are in my squad at the moment. Let's have a look at the polls I put out earlier. So 53% of you have gone for Messi to start against Jordan. And for the Hakimi versus differential Moroccan defender, 71% of you have gone for the Paris Saint-Germain right back. And if we have a look at the scouting bonus tracker, yeah, not much has changed there. Reece James is no longer bonus eligible. But the rest is basically what I've talked about from earlier. But yeah, Mane is still below 5%. I'm not sure if that will stick before the deadline. So what I'm going to do here is go to these two different teams. Let's get rid of Agbadou for either Conan or Doué. So 0.6 in the bank with this 50-man squad. It could even be Kane over Messi. Have just about enough, and I could even go to Conan if I wanted to. So let's put a poll out on the live chat now. So let's see. The biggest changes, if I could sum it up. So Martinez versus Pickford. Danilo versus a Ivory Coast defender. But there's also De Kuyper in there. Obviously, this one has Marc Gueye. That could turn into Ezri Konsa. Hakimi versus a differential Moroccan defender. Yeah, Rashford isn't completely locked in for me. Could still go for Mane. Obviously, there I could then do Otamendi to Tagliafico. Let's go for Otamendi here in this one. And in this one, let's De Kuyper. Could just go back to Konsa here. Obviously, that's made things a little bit more difficult, but yeah, that's with Kane over Messi, which isn't exactly a guarantee for me anyway. Let's do Otamendi to Tagliafico here. And yeah, get rid of Konsa for De Kuyper. Okay. So this is Team A, what you see on screen. And this is Team B. Not that dissimilar, to be honest. But there are a few modifications across the board. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. And let's start this poll. So just to read them out, Team A has Fofana and Emi Martinez with Danilo, Dumfries, Hakimi, Otamendi and Konsa, Somerville, Mane, Vinicius Jr., Saibari and Rashford with Gakpo, Mbappe and Lionel Messi. This team, so Team B, has Fofana and Pickford with Conan, Dumfries, Chadi Riyad, De Kuyper and Tagliafico. Mane, Somerville, Salah, Vinicius Jr., Saibari, Gakpo, Mbappe, and Kane. So both of them looking very solid there. Who do you think will have more minutes, Olmo or Yamal? I think Yamal will have more minutes, to be honest. That'd be my 2 cents on it. Why not Oyarzabal and Messi? Is that, or is it over Messi? Well, because there's not space for everyone, and I don't think Oyarzabal's ceiling is as high as the other forwards I've talked about. I prefer Nakamura over Kamada, but ultimately there could be rotation risks anyway, not just in Japan, but across the board. And with Kamada, yeah, I'm not a massive fan of him in World Cup fantasy terms, despite a really strong start with the goals. Salah or an England mid? Probably Salah. Why not Yamal? Once again, you can't go for them all, but it would be either him or Salah in my setup. I mean, there's the case to go for both of them with Vinicius Jr. making way, but you can't have all three of them alongside Harry Kane or Messi and Mbappe and everything else that I want. People have been talking about Jude quite a lot, to be honest, mate. It's just there's not enough space for everyone. It's only been 5 minutes, mate. I have Kolasinac. Yeah, I think he might be one of the better picks from the Group B fixtures, but yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. Somerville or Trossard? Somerville. Best Belgium options against New Zealand? De Kuiper, De Bruyne, Trossard. Any recommendations of Ivory Coast defenders? One of Doué or Conan would be fine. Hi, mate, is it okay still owning Mbappe and Haaland? Yes, but I think Kane and Messi are better than Haaland for Matchday 3. You've also got Gakpo, who I'd argue is better than Haaland this week. And maybe a few others as well, who I've talked about already. Cunha's would be another one. Hey, mate, I need help. My forwards are Cunha, Gakpo, Oyarzabal. My midfield, Yamal, Kessié, Vinicius, Diaz, Saibari. Kessié is the one I look at, and I'm not a big fan of him, but the rest looks pretty good. Luis Diaz against Portugal, I'd probably sell, to be fair. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're on a wild card, but I would get rid of Diaz and possibly Kessié. Apparently Messi is set to start and get at least 45 minutes. Yeah, people are referencing a tweet. I haven't seen it myself, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I'm going to have a look at that and scour the internet for that one. If you do have a link, drop it in the live chat so that can make it a bit easier. I'm having a look, but I don't see the tweet. But yeah. What if I type in Messi 45 minutes? It's only been 5 minutes, mate. Where are you? Is there a link? Here's an Argentinian journalist who apparently said it. Let's see, wait, did I just find it? Oh yeah, if it's from Gaston Edul, he's very reliable when it comes to Argentina news. So yeah, he will play at least 45 minutes against Jordan. Yeah. Yeah, let me bring this up. That is, yeah. Very reliable source. I think I saw the video actually yesterday. Yeah. I think this is correct then. So Messi should start against Jordan. I can't guarantee it, but Agbadou will start. He's the central defender that has always played. Yeah, I know. It's just I saw a few people and even a predicted lineup or two from some Ivory Coast pages, and they didn't have Agbadou in there. I think he'll start against Curaçao, but it's not an absolute guarantee. I wouldn't say it's 100% locked in. Thoughts on a Congo defender? I'm not against it. I said this before, but my sort of counter argument was Congo are very solid defensively against Colombia and Portugal, and they had to be. But against Uzbekistan, I think Congo might open up a bit more. So I think they'll concede some chances, and I wouldn't be surprised if Uzbekistan scored a goal. Somerville or Kamada? Definitely Somerville for me. Thoughts on triple Morocco, Saibari, Hakimi, Diaz, and triple Ivory Coast defence? I wouldn't triple up on the Ivory Coast defence, but 1 or 2 is probably the sweet spot. Yeah, triple Morocco is fine. I'm probably going for 2, but I think 3 is definitely reasonable. Check Matchday 3, France lineup 2022. They rotated fully. Yeah, that's not a bad shout, actually. Yeah, against Tunisia, where they lost 1-0. But there you go. They lost 1-0. So there you go. Let's go back to my World Cup fantasy team. And just to give people context, because I think a lot of people are voting for Team A, maybe it's worth showing that again. So transfer section. This is Team A. And it's got the likes of Messi in there. So I'll just highlight the sort of like the key differences. This one has Emi Martinez, Danilo, Hakimi, Otamendi, and Konsa, with Rashford and Messi. The other one has Pickford, Conan, or a different Ivory Coast defender, with Chadi Riyad, De Koipa, Tagliafico, Salah, and Harry Kane. Those are the main differences between Team B, which is on screen, and Team A. Vote for your preference in the live chat, and I'll be locking in fairly soon over the next hour or so. But I will check France's lineup from 3.5 years ago, just to see what you're talking about. I think they made wholesale changes. Yeah, even the goalkeeper was rotated. So Mandanda, Disasi, Varane, Kanate, Camavinga. Yeah, Verital, Chouamani, Fofana, Coman, Colomwani, and Guendouzi. Yeah, Saliba, Rabiot, Mbappe, Griezmann, and Dembele were all subbed on. That could be a good shout, by the way. And yeah, maybe going away from Mbappe is the play. Yeah, it's got me thinking. Yeah, it's always a risk when you sell someone like Mbappe. I think he will start, but it's not a guarantee. So definitely one to look at, and I probably would rather go for Kane this week over Mbappe anyway. But yeah, so difficult to go against World Cup Mbappe, because if he does start, yeah. The thing is, I mean, we say this, France haven't secured top spot, so it's a bit different. The context isn't the same as last time out. So yeah, sure, they've qualified, but they haven't secured #1 spot, which can obviously play a big part in the knockout stages. So I think that's why things are a bit different this time around, and I think Mbappe will start against Norway. So not fully locked in there. Mechele instead of De Koipa? Possibly, but you're not going to get as much attacking threat. Manzambi starts for 5.6. Yeah, but I'm still not too interested in this group. Yeah, Kane was a disaster, but it's one match, mate. And Panama next. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty easy for England. Harry Kane has scored a hat-trick against them before. I think Messi will start. Emi Martinez, Tagliafico, Otamendi. With the rest, I couldn't really tell you, but this is where Nico Gonzalez could get the nod. I think Alvarez will too, but I couldn't give you a full predicted lineup, to be honest. Yeah, Nico Pass is possible, but not guaranteed. In the video, you said Messi won't play the full 90, and I stand by that. I don't think he will, but I think he'll start, which is why he was talked about quite a lot. Best Belgian options against New Zealand, as mentioned a few minutes ago, De Bruyne, Trossard, and De Koipa. I mean, you can't go wrong with a cheaper option like Mechele in the defense. Kamada or Nakamura, also covered earlier. It would be Nakamura, but there's no guarantee that either of them will start, to be fair. Why not Elise? I think with France, it's Mbappe or nothing else, really. Why not Agbadou? I mentioned this already, Weising. Basically, I saw 1 or 2 predicted lineups with no Agbadou in there, and there is a slight concern when it comes to Agbadu's starting chances. I don't think Undav will do that well against Ecuador. He will start. I'm very confident about that, but I don't think I'm going to go for Undav. I'd rather go for Sarr or Amad Diallo, and then you've got Oyarzabal, Messi, Mbappe, Kane, Gakpo. They're all above him in the pecking order. Yamal versus Olise. Yamal. Salah, Mane, or Rashford, Saka. I prefer Salah this week. It's not my final team, and I wouldn't recommend copying. Doku. Not a bad choice, but I prefer the others I mentioned. Yeah, that's already been covered to death. Luis Alexander, good to see you. Dylan, saludos. Si te tocará remontar de atrás en tu liga en una posición como de 20-30 puntos, ¿te gustaría más el equipo A o de B? Digo, la verdad, no pienso mucho en el contexto de, estoy perdiendo por 20-30 puntos, porque es muy temprano. Para mí es muy parejo las posiciones con los leaderboards y rankings, así que no estoy pensando mucho en la diferencia de puntos, pero en ese contexto, bueno, si vamos por esto seleccionado, creo que esto puede ser un poquito más diferencial que el otro, pero igual hay riesgos como Rashford también. Es bastante parejo, te digo la verdad, pero no, te digo la verdad, quizá este es un poquito más diferencial. El equipo A. Hay otro jugador de Scouting Bonus ahí, pero es muy parejo entre los dos. Y también para elegir el mejor entre equipo A y B, no estoy asegurado o no está definido todavía, así que va a ser bastante difícil. Turkey starting over Elise, it's possible, but I think France will still go quite strong. Yeah, Mane already went above 5% quite a while ago. Edouard Mendy had a bit of a problem. I'm not sure if he even starts on Matchday 3, and nor do I trust that Senegalese defence. I'd rather go for Fofana, the Ivory Coast goalkeeper, and you've also got more options where that came from, whether it's Bono, Emi Martinez, Pickford. They've all been covered. Lukaku, not for me. I don't think I'd pick him in the forward line. Yeah, Saka could start, but the minutes won't be great. Dylan, your opinion on Brobbey? He's a bit of a concern. I highlighted the quote earlier, which was highlighted by a viewer of the channel. Brobbey might not start this game. He's a bit of a doubt. Not for me. Yeah, the South African attack isn't great, but neither is the South Korean defense. I think both teams could score. Yeah, good luck, Banjo. Not necessarily. I'm not sure about Konsa per se, but I think an England defender is fairly decent. Well, they're different positions. Sarr is a forward in this game. Diamande is a midfielder. I would rather go for Sarr. Or to be fair, I might be bugging with that one. Diamande is a forward as well. I don't like his end product, and to be fair, Sarr hasn't been much better. Obviously, he missed that open goal against France. Scored a brace against Norway, but not a big fan. Not a big fan of Diamande. If he was a midfielder, I'd be more keen, but yeah, and as a forward, no, I don't think so. It is Curaçao, but I made the same mistake with Yoboa in Matchday 2, and the rest is history. No, Alvarez is not a crazy shout. I think he'll start. Sí, Due está bien de Costa de Marfil, creo que va a jugar. Sí. Creo que Due va a empezar. Obviamente no fue titular en la jornada 2, pero creo que va a cambiar ahora. Alvarez or Messi? Still Messi for me. Any idea if Somerville starts? I think he will. Should I start? Should I go for Conan or Due? There's not really much in it. Probably I'm going to go for Due, but it's very close. That's a flip of a coin. I think De Kuyp has more attacking potential, but I'm tempted by Mechele just because of the price tag. I don't really trust the Belgian defence, to be honest. Dylan, you sure about Rashford over KDB? Yeah, he only played 80 minutes, but he scored. De Bruyne hasn't done anything in this World Cup so far, but it's close. Ahmad says Brobbey trained fully well with the team. Had a scare, but he is fine. Yeah, thanks for the update. I still think Gakpo and Somerville are the best Dutch attackers, though. So those are the ones I'd recommend to people. Not Robbie, despite his brace on match day 2. But yeah, for Friday's match, I think Robbie will start. It's just not 100% guaranteed. Obviously, Somerville's not guaranteed either, but I think he will be in the lineup. Not a big fan of any Switzerland attackers or players really against Canada. I think that could be a low-scoring game and very difficult to call. Obviously, Canada have the home advantage. Yeah, Doué's fine. I've been asked about him quite a lot. I mean, he's cheap. He should start for Ivory Coast. He didn't on match day 2, but I think he will this time round. Yeah, I'm wildcarding on match day 3. I'm not really convinced about Kane and his minutes against Panama. Yeah, maybe I'm overselling it a bit, but even Messi's minutes won't be great. But it's Messi, and he's facing Jordan. So Team A has 64% of the votes. So that would be Fofana, Martinez, Danilo, Dumfries, Hakimi, Otamendi, Konsa, Somerville, Mane, Vinicius, Saibari, Rashford, Gakpo, Mbappe, Messi. I need to see more predicted lineups because with England, for example, I think Rashford will start, but it's not a guarantee. So let's see if I can find one. So by London Evening Standard, they've gone for Pickford, James, Konsa, Gehi, O'Reilly, Anderson, Rice, Saka, Bellingham, Rashford and Kane. Not too bad. But I think he'll be subbed off early, Mr. Rashford. So that's not completely ideal. I'd go for Mane over the Mecha. I don't think Medina starts, so that's irrelevant. He's 4.9% ownership, but I think Tagliafico will start. I'm not going to go for any Japanese midfielders, but yeah, Nakamura would be decent. I'm not sure if he definitely starts, though, but if he does, he's my favourite. I'm going with Mbappe, Haaland, Gakpo. Nor have been scoring +4 goals over the last 10 games. Yeah, but they're facing France. You could be right. It might be a game full of goals, but I don't really see Norway scoring too many. Maybe 1, 2 maximum, but not more than that. Yeah, I think Otamendi will start, but he's not first choice for Argentina. It's just because they've secured top spot. I like Gakpo a lot for this match day, but I think Harry Kane is still one of the top options. No, I don't think Medina will start. Best under 5% midfielders. Rashford could be up there. There aren't too many that stand out to me. But that would be one of them. Mbappe or Kane? Harry Kane. I'm looking to bring him in. Which Moroccan defender should I pick? Hakimi's the best overall, but he's not going to qualify for the scouting bonus like Chadi Riyad or Mazraoui. So, yeah, it's a very close one. And I put a poll out on my channel, which I showed a few times, and most people have voted for Hakimi. I've got Mbappe, Haaland, Kane front three with free transfers. Haaland swap with Messi, and I need a replacement for Bruno. Who would you recommend? Depends on your budget, but Salah would be pretty good. And I like Saibari a lot if you need a bit of funds. Yamal and Sarr or Saibari and Messi? Saibari and Messi. I missed the previous deadline, so I didn't use any transfers or chips. Which chip should I use in your opinion? I'd use the wildcard. Well, apparently the Black Magic was released from Kane, but yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. But Kane should score against Panama. Love the content. I did cover this question, I'm pretty sure. Diamande and Salah or Mbappe and Somerville? It'd be Mbappe and Somerville. Will Elise start? I'm not entirely sure about that. Probably. But a few fringe players for France could get the nod. Yeah, Fofana has over 5% ownership. No surprises there. I'll double check with the website that tracks the ownership figures. They haven't said it yet. Or have they? Yeah, they have. Okay, so Rayan Cherki is now bonus eligible, like Bacho. But the likes of Mane, Serginho Dest, Fofana from Ivory Coast, the goalkeeper, and Medina are no longer bonus eligible. Might be back to the drawing board, Mike. Let's see if I can get a different goalkeeper over Fofana. But yeah, not a big surprise there. Yeah, Bono's going to be another one over 5% ownership, so Gonna respectfully skip him. This is where the Congolese goalkeeper could come into play. In Passy. 4 points against Colombia. That could be decent, but sometimes it's not just about scouting bonus, and yeah, it could leave you hanging a little bit. Obviously, it gives me an extra player in terms of the windows for captaincy as well, because I've got no one from that group with no Colombian or Portuguese assets, so I'm not completely against this one. I think what I might end up doing, actually, is this. Let's see, Passy, and then go for either Doué or Conan. Why am I getting table tennis? Okay. Just checking Ivory Coast's predicted lineup. So one of them has, yeah, Fofana in goal, Doué, Kasunu, Agbadu, and Conan. We could see Diomande start alongside Kasunu. Sangari, yeah, Diomande, Kessié, Diallo, and Bonnie. It's kind of what you would expect. And then Ulai as well. Yeah, I think Conan for me, just to be a bit safe. I don't mind Doué too much. Obviously, he got a goal and assist against France. Yeah. With Singo potentially injured, that opens the door for Doué. That could be a very nice one. I'm not against that. Yeah, I'm not really expecting too much attacking potential from Conan. But, yeah. Doué's very tempting for me from Ivory Coast, but yeah, just a bit more of a doubt. Let me just check if we have an update on Singo. Because if he's effectively ruled out, then I'm going to go for Doué. So this was a press release by Ivory Coast, I think. So, reassuring medical test for Singo. So he underwent medical examinations on Monday. So according to the medical staff, the Ivory Coast defender will nevertheless observe a few days of rest and care to promote optimal recovery. Okay, so yeah, it does look like Doué will start. So yeah, Singo's out for matchday 3, it looks like, but he won't be out for too long. That looks quite promising. So yeah, instead of Conan, I might go for Doué then. And Otamendi, Tagliafico, that's fine. I've gone for Emi Martinez here. Let's see. I want to see an Argentina predicted lineup as well. Because even with Emi Martinez, I'm not sure if he will start for sure. I'm more confident about Tagliafico and Otamendi this week. Yeah, one lineup I've seen here is Emi Martinez, Montiel, Romero, Otamendi. I don't see Romero starting. That can't be right. Tagliafico, De Paul, McAllister, Fernandez, Almada, Lautaro Martinez, Messi. Nah, I disagree with a lot of that. I think. Yeah, I'm not sure about Emi Martinez. I'm probably going to get rid of him. And this is where I could go for the Congo goalkeeper. So yeah, Passy, and let's go for Barner, potentially. I still like Pickford. Pickford's not too bad. I think I'm leaning towards him. Okay, that looks pretty good. Concert, I'm not entirely sure about, to be fair. If I wanted to maximize my windows and have a Group B player, I could go for Kolasinac or something, but I just don't really trust Bosnia. Defensively, the midfield is quite good. I mean, Rashford would be a mega differential. People are sort of not too sure about him, but I think he could do well. Yeah, last time they faced each other, 6-1 for England, and Harry Kane scored a hat-trick. Wow, and even John Stones scored a brace. Yeah, how times have changed. All right, so drop a like if you haven't done so already. Subscribe, all that good stuff. We're making big progress towards 40,000. Thanks to those that have done so already. I'm going to go for a few super chats and stuff like that first, and then I'm going to start locking in my team. Thank you, Ahmad, for another one. Now 10 million in the bank after minor tweaks. Well, at least you got a bit less in the bank. Might still go back up. Not overly convinced with picking Yamal. Yeah, and also Uruguay will be fighting for the lives. I think Spain will win, but it might be a cagey game, low scoring, like 1 or 2-0 Spain. So I'm quite happy to sort of avoid that fixture if possible. I'm not like fully settled on it. And I think Salah could be a better pick at a similar price tag. The same goes for Vinicius Jr. for Matchday 3. No, there's only one wild card. You do get unlimited transfers though for Matchday 4, but you have to use it for the round of 32. It's not a wild card per se. Yeah, well, it could be Rulli or Musso. I'm not sure exactly who, but yeah, I've got doubts about Emi Martinez. The thing is, maybe Emi Martinez will want to win the Golden Glove, and Argentina have a great chance of keeping a clean sheet against Jordan on paper. Singer was subbed off due to injury. I literally read out the medical report by Ivory Coast, and it looks like he's going to be out for Matchday 3. Yeah, the wildcard's active. It says so in the live chat in the title of the video, and I said it in my team selection podcast yesterday. Livakovic is really good for Croatia. He made some big saves yesterday, but against Ghana, I think Croatia could concede. I probably would avoid it. And against England, they were all over the place defensively. Yeah, Bosnian goalkeeper isn't too bad. I was thinking of Tagliafico Otamendi double up. I'm quite tempted, actually. I might end up going for something like that with Pickford in goal, and then, yeah. It's just difficult. I mean, I like Konsa against Panama. I think he'll start. I probably need to see another predicted lineup for England first before fully committing. But there is a possibility that Konsa's benched. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Let's see. Yeah. But I'm currently stuck on this, if you will. I would be tempted to bring in a Salah, despite the fact that it doesn't qualify for the scouting bonus. The 1.5 million over. And that's where Hakimi can become Chadi Riyadh. But yeah, sometimes you saw it with Munoz as well recently. We all went, well, a lot of us went for Mojica or a different Colombian defender. And in the end, Munoz is one of the highest scoring players in the game. So it can go against you sometimes. But the reason why I'd even do that is just to fund the other moves. So I could go for Messi, one of Mbappe or Kane. And that allows me to bring in Salah in the midfield. But that means no Rashford. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to start locking things in fairly soon. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be panic stations in the last couple of minutes, and I want to avoid that if possible. I'm going to make these changes at least to get one step closer to where I want to be. I'm going to put a few quickfire polls as well and focus on these dilemmas one by one. So let's put Tagliafico, double Argentina defense. And then Consa, double England defense. Plus, well, yeah, they're both scouting bonus anyway. The young Gravenberch or Reinders. I'll be honest with you, Somerville's the one that I'd really want. Yes, he doesn't qualify for the scouting bonus, but he's got far more attacking potential than those three. If I had to pick, it's probably going to be Gravenberch based on the performances, and I think he's still got a chance of getting a return, mainly through long-distance shots. But yeah, Reinders hasn't been quite at it. He's probably the most attack-minded of the three, but the performances haven't really been there yet. Best defender for England or Argentina? Probably Consa just because of scouting bonus, and then one of Otamendi Tagliafico, but it's only for matchday 3 when it comes to the Argentina one. Hola Dylan, ¿no te parece buena idea un defensa de Bélgica? Tienen partido fácil contra Nueva Zelanda. Sí, pero Bélgica son medio flojos y hablé de Kuiper. Es posible que lo voy a tener en mi equipo, pero no es garantizado, y para mí Bélgica, bueno, no te llena de confianza defensivamente, y no me sorprendería si Nueva Zelanda haga un gol, digo la verdad. Creo que Argentina, casi dije Arsenal, Holanda o Países Bajos, sí, otros países como Costa de Marfil tienen mejores chances de obtener una valla invicta. I believe Consa will start because England will have to play their best 11. Yeah, I know, but it's just they could still make a few changes, like Rashford over Gordon, and maybe Consa makes way, so it's Stones and Gahey. So that's why I'm a bit in two minds about Consa because of that. So maybe I'm going to go for Otamendi and Tagliafico instead. And Tagliafico is winning this poll, by the way. Thank you very much. I do speak Spanish. Not as well as my English, but I try. Consa or O'Reilly? O'Reilly's a better pick individually. I think he'll start over Spence, but because of scouting bonus, that's why Consa is the one I'm leaning towards for England. But I might end up doing something a little bit different in terms of yeah, Otamendi and Tagliafico for me. And then tripling up on Argentina. So that could be my team. 1.1 in the bank as well, by the way. Could I... Oh, no, I'm still way off in terms of Hakimi over Chadi Riyad. But it's not too bad. Just need to be careful about this as well. Yeah, Pickford obviously plays, yeah, the day before. Ultimately, they're not in the same group anyway, but just be mindful about your goalkeepers and stuff, and make sure you've got most groups covered with your 50-man squad. Yeah, I've got quite a few groups that I'm not covering, but a lot of them are ticked off. I'm a bit unsure about Sadio Mane, by the way. I might end up going to Marcus Rashford instead. Yeah, that's another one I'm looking at. Yeah, Lamin's a good idea, but there are other options as well. Which would you start? Medina, Martinez, Romero, Molina? None of them. I don't think any of them start for Argentina. I think Otamendi and Tagliafico are the Argentina options to go for defensively. I think Messi will start. I can't guarantee it, though. I'm quite sure Otamendi will start. Yeah. Yeah, I think Kane will play. Diaz or Saibari? Okay, so yeah, someone mentioned Diaz earlier. So I'm guessing they're talking about Brahim Diaz, then not Luis Diaz. Still Saibari for me. Yeah, in terms of Group B, probably that's the goalkeeper I'd go for if I had to pick one, but I'm not a massive fan. Yeah, I get that. It's a tough call between Kane and Messi, but if Messi plays 60 to 70 minutes, which is possible, I'd probably lean towards him, but it's very close, and I'm not entirely confident about leaving Kane out. Yeah, Ochoa's not bad. I think he'll start on match day 3 over Angel. Tagliafico should start for Argentina. They've already secured top spot, and there's going to be rotation. To be honest, I look at different sources. So sometimes it'll be The Guardian or The Telegraph. Other times it'll be Fantasy Football Scout, or it will be just different opinions and stuff like that. Sometimes I go to sort of like these pages that relay information for certain countries. I do the same for clubs as well. So I look at a combination of different ones. I don't just look at any sort of random predicted lineup, let's say. I usually go to official sources or quite credible predictions. But yeah, those are some examples for you. Hey Dylan, Manzambi versus Somerville. It would be Somerville for me. And yeah, true. This suspension risk is relevant because for players like that, you could see them being benched and reducing the risk of being booked and missing the round of 32 and beyond. I think Messi is a better choice than Kane, but not by much, and it all depends on the minutes, which isn't guaranteed. Danilo is fine, but I'm not a massive fan of the Brazil defense. Dylan, Ochoa no va a iniciar. México va a continuar con Rangel. I'm not sure about that one. I mean, I've seen a few people say that Ochoa is going to start, but we'll see. Puede ser que tengas razón, pero ya vi algunos equipos y alineaciones que tienen Ochoa ahí, pero veremos lo que pasa. Igual yo no voy a ir por Ochoa. KDB hasn't been great in this tournament, but good fixture, quality player. Let's see if he finally turns up in the World Cup this year. I'm so stuck between Kane, Messi and Gakpo. So am I. And Mbappe added to the mix. It's a very tough call. No, I don't think Lisandro Martinez will start, and I'm even less sure about Romero starting. In fact, I'd say Romero will be benched. I'm very confident about that. He'll be rested. But yeah, I think for Argentina, Otamendi and Tagliafico will start. Vinicius or a Moroccan for the captain tonight? It's between Saibari and Vinicius for me. I might go for Saibari in the end, to be fair. Captain Hakimi or Vinicius Jr.? Same kickoff. Probably Vinicius here. But if it was Saibari, it might be a different answer. Last minute change, I dropped Ronaldo for Sarr, which allows me to get Salah for Kessié. Yeah, that's a good upgrade, I think. I'm seeing many predicted lineups that don't have Somerville. Maybe there's something to it. If you have a link to that, then let me know. I'll have a look myself. But that's not what I want to hear, obviously. I was quite close to locking in. Let's see. Maybe that's based on the fact that he was benched in the last game, but I still think he's first choice for the Netherlands. I'm having a look myself. Is there one here? No, I don't think so. Oh, yeah. Verbruggen, Dumfries, Van Heck, Van Dijk, Van de Ven, De Jong, Gravenberch, Reinders, Marlon, Depay, and Gakpo. No Somerville there. I think he starts, to be honest. But yeah, there's another one here by RotoWire. I'm not sure how reliable they are, but yeah. Let's see if I can find another one on Twitter. We can go through this, by the way. So shout out here to FPL Meerkat. So we can just go through these predicted lineups together. Obviously, it's not gospel. Some will be right, some will be wrong. But I think this is pretty good foundation here. Like Rogers, Bellingham, I could see that being a debate for matchday 3. I think Saka will start, but his fitness has been a big concern, well, all season really. I think Rashford and O'Reilly will be on the left. Reece James might get a rest. I think that's a pretty decent call. Yeah, Constant Gahey would be my expected centre-back partnership with Pickford in goal. Obviously, with the rest, you've got Bellingham in there at the same time, by the way, and it would be Rice dropping out. So that's a possibility for Mexico. Obviously, Ochoa, Rangel is always a big debate. If there's ever a time to play Ochoa, it's going to be this game. I think Ochoa will start with the rest. I'm not too interested personally, but they should rotate a little bit. With Switzerland, obviously, we know the lineup. There's no need to go through that. For Brazil, this looks pretty accurate. I think Rayan will be the sort of Rafinha replacement. Vinicius on the left. If Neymar were ever to start as well, probably matchday 3, but Cunha and Vinicius are the 2 ones you want to look at from a fantasy perspective. Defensively, Danilo is my favourite. Not a guaranteed starter. For Morocco, Saibari is my favourite option. Obviously, someone mentioned Diaz. El Kanous isn't bad, but I prefer the other 2. And Hakimi. Then you're looking at Mazraoui, Chali Riyad. Ultimately, if you want to cover Morocco defensively, go for either Hakimi or a differential who qualifies for the scouting bonus, which means I rank them above Bono in goal. For USA, as you can see here, Balogun might not play, or at least start the game, so they could rotate quite a bit. For Germany, I think Undav will start, and we'll see what happens with the rest, but yeah, it could be wholesale changes, which could play into Ecuador's favour. For Ivory Coast, yeah, we could see something like this, with Guesson starting for the first time in this tournament, and yeah, we could see Agbadou in there, but at the moment, it's between Doué and Conan for me. But yeah, Singo is out based on the report I read out earlier. Fofana is no longer bonus or scouting bonus eligible. For Ecuador, obviously none of us are really looking at their players, to be honest, but it should be a fairly similar setup. And for the Netherlands, yeah, Somerville is not a guaranteed starter. Brobby had a knock in the last game, but yeah, he is in contention to start. It could be Depay up front with Somerville, so something a little bit different in the forward line. And there's also the possibility of Daniel Marlin playing in the team as well. But yeah, for me, Dumfries and Gakpo are very likely to be in my squad. This is the Japan predicted lineup. So Nakamura is at left wing back there. And it's pretty much what you would expect in most cases. But let's see what actually happens. For Sweden, Gyökeres and Isak are the only players I'd really consider. I mean, Ayari had a great matchday 1 performance. For Belgium, I think Trossard will start, but he isn't a guaranteed starter there. Doku should come back in, De Bruyne. And yeah, Mechele should be there. De Kuyper is a bit of a risk, to be quite honest with you. And for Spain, they should go quite strong. Obviously, Pedro Porro versus Llorente will be a bit of a headache there. I'd rather go for Laporte in their defence. Yamal and Oyarzabal are the best assets overall. For Uruguay, I'd completely avoid them, to be fair, but that would be their likely lineup. And for France, yeah, we did see them make a lot of changes on matchday 3 in the previous World Cup, but they were already guaranteed to be group winners. They aren't here. They are facing Norway, who also have 6 points, so they will go relatively strong across the board. And for Norway as well, they'll give it all they have, and Haaland is obviously the standout option. For Senegal, you might be considering a Diouf, maybe even Diatta against Iraq, but I think the best options include Mane and Sarr in the attack. For Argentina, we could see something like this. I personally think it'll be one of Musso or Rulli. I'm not sure exactly who will start between the sticks, but maybe Emi Martinez won't get the nod. I think Tagliafico and Otamendi will start. I'm very confident about that, which is why I've been talking about having both of them in my team there. Montiel over Molina, they typically rotate regardless, but I think Molina is the starting right back moving forwards. I think Paredes will start there as well. And Valentin Barco was very impressive in the friendlies over the past year or so, and we could see him start with Gonzalez and maybe Simeone with Nico Paz and Messi up front, but I think Alvarez will get the nod, to be honest. I think he will be in the lineup. And this is the one for Austria. Arnautovic should start this time round with Sabitzer, who is still my favourite option despite a poor World Cup start for him. And for Colombia, yeah, I think this is generally pretty decent. Yeah, I still think James will start. Obviously, his minutes have been a bit all over the place as well. Munoz has been brilliant so far in this tournament, and Luis Diaz is always a threat. And for Portugal, Leao or Felix will always be a conversation. Vega seems to be first choice alongside Ruben Diaz, who finally started on match day 2, and the rest speaks for itself. And this would be the Croatia lineup, with Baturina offering potentially good value there. And you're looking at Gvardiol and Livakovic for the defensive coverage. So, yeah, that's like an overview of some of the top-ranked nations and their possible lineups, and hopefully that helps you a little bit. It's just a prediction, of course. It's not fully set in stone or gospel. But there you go. I'm going to start making some tweaks here. And that's where the transfer section comes into play. So I might go for the Congo goalkeeper alongside Pickford. Yeah, one of Konsa or Tagliafico will come into play. I've got 1.1 in the bank, to be honest, with this 50-man squad. So, yeah, it's not fully locked in here. But that's where I could get rid of Somerville, which I'm not a big fan of. I want to have him, actually. But there's no need to spend all the money. Sometimes we have that sort of temptation or habit of using up everything. You don't necessarily need to do that. But yeah, Declan Rice, by the way, was struggling after the game, so I think it's understandable to not see him in the predicted lineup. And Reece James was another potential concern. So yeah, I think it's kind of fair to say that both of them might not start against Panama. But yeah, in terms of the poll, I think Tagliafico is the winner, 58%, 300 votes. It's a very close call for me. Pickford, I think I'll keep. I want to have one England defensive coverage. I'm just not entirely sure on the Congo clean sheet. I said this before. They might be more attack-minded against Uzbekistan. Chadi Riyad, fine. Dumfries, looking pretty decent there. Yeah, I don't think I need to spend the extra 1.1 million, to be honest with you. It's not really a pressing need. Yeah. I might go for Konsa over one of Tagliafico or Otamendi, but it's not really a massive difference. I mean, they're all scouting bonus eligible, and they've got a good chance of a clean sheet. So I'm going to go for this for now. Oh yeah, get rid of Gehi, and let's bring in Otamendi. Oh yeah, it's going to do that. Gonna have to do that again. So let's get rid of Emi Martinez, Pickford in goal. Get rid of these two. Potentially Rashford as well. Otamendi, Konsa. Get rid of Danilo. This is where Doué could come in, if not Conan. Hakimi possibly out for Chadi Riyad. And that opens up a bit of funds for Rashford to Salah. And the rest looks pretty decent as well. Oh my god, what is this? Yeah, it's a little glitch I'm having, so it's not letting me make my transfers. So be careful. Okay, I think it has made the transfers, but there could be glitches, so I'd be a bit cautious when it comes to that. So that was an alternative set of transfers there, which includes Hakimi. Now, this would be a bit different. This is with De Koipa, Chadi Riyad, Salah. So it's kind of like a mix of both setups I talked about earlier in this stream. I'll have this ready as well, just in case. And I'll have a look at the ownership figures too. Yeah, Fofana's not going to be a scouting bonus differential. Is Agbadou still on my team? Yeah, it hasn't made my transfers then. That's annoying. I'm going to have to try again. So Agbadou to Doué. De Koipa out. for Konsa. Otamendi, Tagliafico, not much of a difference. 0.1 million separates them. And I can bring in Salah. For Rashford, potentially. It's between Mane and Rashford. Yeah, I might end up going for Marcus Rashford, to be fair. As a scouting bonus differential. Especially if I don't have Harry Kane, I'd want an England attacker. So yeah, that's my current team. And as you can see, those on my bench are playing later on the match day. And then you take off your low-scoring players from your starting 11 for those yet to play. So that's how I'm looking like at the moment. And I'll have things ready just in case I want to make a few other modifications. I don't know why it keeps doing this, by the way. Yeah. Finally, it's refreshed. Okay, so I'm going to go through some more questions for the next couple of minutes and then possibly tinker a little bit more if necessary. And let's see if we've got another quickfire poll to do. Rashford Mane would be a good one. And then I'll get to the big one, which is Messi versus Kane. Yeah, Otamendi should start. I've been very consistent about that all week. So let's put Rashford and Mane. Mbappe or Kane? Kane has the better fixture, to be fair. I am very tempted to bring in to be honest. I could see Kane doing really well. If you still have the 12th man and you're not wildcarding, I'd recommend that. There's not much of a difference between Otamendi and Tagliafico. I mean, there's a 0.1 million difference in price. Obviously, Tagliafico's cheaper. They both have very similar goal potential and stuff like that, so there's not really much separating them. Yeah, I think Otamendi starts. Did we decide whether or not Somerville will start? Well, not really. I think he will, but I can understand why he possibly might not. Like, it's not a guarantee. It's probably like 60 or 70% likely that he will start. Good luck, Dylan and everyone. Please like and subscribe. Thank you, Johnny. As he says, it costs nothing, and it helps the channel out greatly. We are making massive strides towards 40k on YouTube. Yeah, Kane and Mbappe is a very tough one. It's almost a coin toss. I'll put a poll out very soon, but Kane definitely has the better fixture. It's just Mbappe's World Cup record, which is very spooky. Yamal's good, but he's facing Uruguay, who have been terrible in this tournament, but you've got Vinicius facing Scotland and Salah up against Iran, so those are the two 10 million midfielders I'm aiming for. Kamada, Somerville, Yamal versus Vinicius. Somerville and Vinicius for me. Hakimi and KDB or Salah and Riyadh? Probably Salah and Riyadh, but it's close. Rashford may not be 100% fit. Yeah, the minutes are going to be a concern there. But Mane hasn't been great. Drop Mbappe for Messi and Kane? Possibly, yeah. I mean, that's what I've currently got. I've got Messi and Mbappe. I might end up switching Mbappe to Kane. But if I do that, then I'm probably getting rid of Rashford. Does almost start? It's possible. Not guaranteed. Almost minutes are not going to be great. I think Panama's better than Iraq. You might be right. But I think England are also better than Egypt. Sorry, than Senegal. Why too many? Because Argentina have they finished top of the group. So with Messi, you could argue, well, why would Messi start and not the rest? Is because with Messi, it's a bit different. It looks like he wants to play, and the plan is to give him the start and 60 minutes, maybe 45 minimum. And also other fringe players for Argentina, like Otamendi, Tagliafico, could start to get their rhythm up, and it's a good opportunity against Jordan. So, yeah, that's why I think Otamendi will start on matchday 3, and it's the general consensus. It's not just my opinion, it's like what most people think. Yeah, Van Heck should start. Will Dest rotate? I think USA will rotate quite heavily, so that's a possibility. I would probably avoid USA. I wouldn't really go for Diaz. I think Saibari is better, but he's a decent option. I think from USA's group, Enciso is one of the better midfielders to go for, actually. But I'm not going to go for him, I think. I believe Alvarez will start, but it's not a guarantee. Diamande and Alvarez, thoughts? Yeah, they're both good options. I think minutes are going to be a concern. particularly for Alvarez. But yeah, Diamande, his end product is lacking a little bit, but against Curaçao, it's a great opportunity for him. And it's also Messi's final World Cup. Well, it's technically Otamendi's final World Cup, but it's a different kettle of fish we're talking about here. Almost surely they'll want to give him as much minutes as possible. And he's also in incredible form right now, so it's good to strike while the iron is hot. And yeah, I think Messi will start. It's not guaranteed, but I think he will. That's fair enough, Pixel Pusher. Back your gut on that one. There are many good options up front. Yeah, Brahim Diaz is a decent choice, but I prefer Saibara. He's got 2 goals. Jordan are not great, but against a heavily rotated team, they could score. Yeah, they could score, but Argentina have a great defense anyway. If Emi Martinez still starts, I could see, yeah, I could see Argentina still keeping a clean sheet. All right, so let's see what people have voted for in the poll. We've got 50 minutes left. Mane has 59% of the votes. I'll end that one. I think Rashford could be overlooked a little bit. So let's make this very difficult. Which forward would you drop? Let's put Messi, Mbappe, and Kane. Yeah, Singo is injured, but he should be back fairly soon. I like Cunha, but there's also Oyarzabal, there's Amad Diallo, Diomande, Ismail Assar, Harry Kane, Messi, Gakpo. The list goes on. Well, technically I do have a double up, but if you're referring to the defense, I'm not fully locked in, but I think that's one of the points of contention in my team. Whether it's Tagliafico or Konsa. But yeah, with Fofana, for example, I might end up selling him to the Congo goalkeeper. So I could do that, 0.7 in the bank. And yeah, that could be another possible change. It also gives me an additional captaincy option if I need it. Obviously, it's based by groups. Everyone plays at the same time in Group B first. So we've got a lot of people tuning in. I've answered a lot of questions and gone through a lot of information. Obviously, there's a lot of hectic stuff going on now. Over the next 10 minutes, I'll be locking in my final wildcard team. My advice is to play it your way and to back your gut to become a better World Cup fantasy manager. Drop a like on the stream. Let's get it to over 300 because, like I said, it costs nothing. And yeah, it goes a long way to supporting the channel. We are closing in on 40,000 subscribers. Join my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky for updates on World Cup fantasy, UCL fantasy, and FPL. I also cover the Euros and the Club World Cup when they're about. And yeah, you're also going to get updates on my channel and when I post. So you're always in a great position to win your mini leagues, rise up the rankings, and enjoy fantasy football games in general. Messi is the one that people are leaving out. 52% of you have voted for leaving out Messi. Interesting. Not Kane and Mbappe. Might go for Kane over Mbappe. Yeah, that's fair enough. And Kane has scored a hat-trick against Panama in the past. It's just leaving out Mbappe is always a crazy one. I mean, they're both template, him and Harry Kane. Obviously, seeing England yesterday was very disappointing, but that's something I talked about as well. I might do that. Obviously, because I've got Konsa and Pickford already, that would mean I would get rid of Rashford. So let's bring in Mane here for now. And I think that leaves me with, yeah, 5 scouting bonus players. by going for this route. Yeah, I get that. Somerville might not start, but I think he will. Yeah, I think O'Reilly starts over Spence. Which forward for 8 million and below? You're going to look at one of Sarr or Diomande. Diallo's not too bad. I'd probably rank Diomande a bit higher. Dennis Undav is decent, but I don't think he'll return as well this week against Ecuador. Dembele is good, but I'm not picking him over Salah, Vinicius, Yamal. I think those three are above him. Yeah, nearly kickoff, lock in. C98AN says, swap out Messi or Mbappe for Gakpo and upgrade Mustafa Zico to Enciso or keep. I'd probably keep. I like Enciso. He's been quite consistent over the past 2 match days, but look, I like Gakpo a lot. I talked about him all week, but yeah, having Messi and Mbappe is a nice flex, to be fair. It's not an easy one, but I'd stick with what you have. Gakpo, that much guaranteed to leave out Mbappe, Kane or Messi? It's just also a matter of funds as well. I mean, I could do something like Gakpo to Mbappe, bring in Harry Kane and Messi, and then downgrade Salah to Rashford. Like, I could do that. Obviously, then I'd probably bring in Tagliafico for Konsa. But yeah, it's not an easy one. I'm surprised by the Messi result, though. I thought more people would be keeping him, since it looks like he's going to actually start the game, although it's not guaranteed. Let's do a few other quickfire polls. Let's put, do you think Somerville will start? I prefer Somerville over Kessie. Try not to spam the chat, please. Hakimi, Sarr, or Messi, Riyadh? Messi and Chadi Riyadh. Not a big fan of Heung-min Son, but the fixture's good. With South Korea, I think Kang In Lee might be my favourite. Do Congo goalkeeper or Courtois for the clean sheet? Courtois is probably a bit more likely. I said this before, I think Congo might be a bit more expansive against Uzbekistan, and they might concede. But yeah, they have been very solid so far in this tournament. Cunha as a shout? Yeah, I like him. He's in my top 10 forwards for sure this week. I'd rank him above Undav for sure. That's the issue of Messi, not guaranteed, not worth the risk. Well, you say that, but if he does start, then you might feel differently. Well, the source that people have referred to is very reliable when it comes to Messi. He said he will play at least 45 minutes, but he could be subbed off quite early. That's the problem. But yeah, look, I love Messi. Maybe the safe play in this case is to not go for him. But there you go. But yes, Somerville, 70% of you think he's going to start. That's quite a lot of you. All right, so let's lock things in. Hopefully I can actually get this question across. Player combination. Yeah, that's true. That's an underrated point by Mick. Bad thing about Messi is that he plays last, so you can't replace him if he does blank. Agreed. And if he's on the bench, then you might have to just leave him on the bench, or you're like, oh, do I bring him in or not? That is a good point. Why I can't pick Kane? Since last match day, he was my 12th man. You should be able to pick him now. Unless you have like a triple up in England, I'm not sure what the problem is. But just be wary. If you've got Pickford, Konsa, and Rashford, then you need to get rid of one of them. Verbruggen and Diao pair. Yeah, Verbruggen's quite underrated. I just prefer covering the Dutch defence with Dumfries, and obviously they've got Van Heck and Van de Ven, who also qualify for the scouting bonus. I think Son will start, yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. Gakpo really good to replace Kane, Messi, or Mbappe. I think Gakpo is pretty good for the Netherlands, and we saw a big performance from him against Sweden. Dylan Verbruggen or Impassi? Probably Verbruggen, to be fair. I mean, yeah, that's something else I'd be open to if I don't go for Gakpo. Going for Verbruggen over Impassi. That's a good point. Yeah, Messi wants the golden boot, but so does Cristiano Ronaldo. not everyone's going to win it. Good luck, people. Off sleeping for the career game. Good night, mate. Saibari or Vinicius for captain? I might change it to Saibari, actually. That's something I've been talking about. I prefer Salah over Yamal, but it's close. Mane, Manzambi, or Somerville to start? I would go for Mane and Somerville out of the three. I think all of them start, by the way, and obviously we know the Switzerland lineup already. I covered that earlier, but yeah, here come the players. Let's lock in. Ronaldo or Messi? Messi. Players saying not selectable. I'll have a look at that. Maybe you are onto something there. Let's do this poll, by the way. So which player combination would you go for? So essentially what it would be is... Let's see if I can simplify this. Nothing in the defense, basically. Maybe goalkeeper. So let's do Verbruggen. Rashford. So this one is fine. There's this one. All right, Opasi. Mane. And oh yeah, Salah. Salah, Gakpo. Oh, that's the Liverpool route. And then this one would be Verbruggen. If I were to go for that. Let's have both of them ready just in case. Let's get that there. Refresh the page just in case. All right, then Verbruggen out. Verbruggen in, sorry. Gakpo out. Let's bring in Kane. Oh yeah, I need to get rid of Rashford. Kane, Mane, and Salah. Oh yeah, okay. So then Konsa for Tagliafico. That would be another change. And then it would be Rashford. That's probably what I'd do. Just enough money to do this. Yeah, that's probably how it comes down to. Obviously, we've got less than 4 minutes left. Tagliafico was the other one. So let's put Tagliafico. And this would be Verbruggen, Konsa. And then it would be... Right. See, the first one doesn't have Salah anyway. That's the bloody point. Yeah, I'm going to be locking in soon. Just making sure. Okay, this one has Rashford. Yeah. Let's call him Rash, but you know what I mean. Rashford. I don't even know. Oh, bloody hell. Tagliafico, Mane, Verbruggen, Konsa. Yeah, to be fair, Mane's in both teams. Just get on with it, mate. Just get on with it, mate. Salah, and this would be Kane. I think that's kind of what the player combination is. Hopefully I've actually done it right. But yeah, those are the 4 players in each scenario. And then it's about locking in. Obviously with this, I'd get a Dutch double up in the defense. No Gakpo up front, but I've got Kane, Mbappe, Messi. Obviously, the alternative is just to replace Messi with Kane anyway and keep Gakpo, but yeah, that's how the teams would look like. So let's get rid of Fofana and go for a Passy in this one. Bloody hell, hurry up. In Passy here. So yeah, I think I spelled his name wrong in the thing, but yeah, that's the Congo goalkeeper in the first scenario. In Passy with Pickford. Yeah, I think Doué will probably stick anyway. So that's what it comes down to, and then it's about locking in. For Bruggen, Konsa, Salah, and Kane is winning. That's interesting. I mean, that's pretty decent. To be fair, that does look better. It does look better now that I look at it. When I lay out like that, it actually looks better. So just get on with it, mate. Sorry, I've seen some John Obi Mikel memes and they're just living rent free in my head now. Yeah, let's go for that. Is Verbruggen differential? Yes, he is. So with this one, I've got 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, but I still have Rashford in this one. I think I fucked up the what's it called? Yeah, I think I fucked up the poll, to be fair, that's why. Yeah, I'm gonna go for this one and confirm the transfers. Yeah. So I've got Impassi. Yeah, that's it. We're done now. We're locked in. So I've got Impassi from Congo, I've got Doué, Dumfries, Chadi, Riyad, Mane, Somerville, Salah, Vinicius, and Saibari, Gakpo, and Mbappe up front. I've gone for Messi with Pickford, Konsa, and Otamendi. The deadline isn't locked in, is it? Probably is. Let me refresh the page and see. Clean sheet shield, there you go. So the mystery chip is revealed. The deadline is locked in. That's what it's going to be. And we have a $5 million increase to our budget. You can see this now live. It's all confirmed. And World Cup Fantasy is working as it should. But in the end, no Harry Kane for me and no England attacker. So I'm probably going to regret that. But to be fair, I've got double up in the England defense. So that's not too bad. Oh, that's great. I've got to wait a few minutes until I can actually see my team. So yeah, that's how they ensure that people aren't doing anything dodgy. So yeah, now I've got 5.5 million in the bank, but that's for the round of 32 and beyond. So I'll be covering that very soon. Twisted Parky says, screw it. I was going to take out Mbappe last minute, bring in Oyarzabal. At least Norway, definitely not amazing. Yeah, but it's Mbappe. Mbappe's incredible in the World Cup, so I'm not really too against that. Yeah, I think Kane could do really well against Panama, and that's going to make me hate him even more because he was awful against Ghana as my 12th man. Thank you, Falcon. I appreciate your support as well and for you tuning in. Thankfully, I did lock in the end, but I think I made a mess of the poll, which is what confused me in the end. And yeah, I just went for... Because yeah, the Bruggen, Konsa, Salah, Kane, that would have been amazing, but that's just not feasible, really. I think, yeah, it would have been Salah and Gakpo. Yeah, whatever. I made a meal of it, to be fair. But it is what it is. 8.5 in the bank. That's a lot of money. Yeah, I did talk about it in many videos. I did say that it was the mystery chip, and I even said it in some deadline streams too. So yeah, that's going to protect your clean sheets until your players have conceded the second goal. So let's get the stream to 200 plus likes. We're very close to that. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks to those that have done so already. I locked in all the best. Likewise, Rashford's my differential. Yeah, if Rashford and Kane haul, I'm going to be a bit annoyed. Yeah, I logged in with just a few seconds to go, but it wasn't a big deal because my starting 11 and stuff was already kind of like secure. So irrespective of who I ended up with, it wasn't like I was going to bench someone who's playing now. And I can always rectify a lot of the changes anyway in terms of starting goalkeeper and stuff. I might regret the Congo goalkeeper too, but hopefully they keep a clean sheet. I don't think Medina will play for Argentina. I think it's going to be Tagliafico at left back. I just hope this wildcard will go well with us. Yeah, same here. Always a lot of dilemmas when it's the last match day of a group stage. We saw that in UCL Fantasy 2, even with the added benefit of seeing all the lineups, but that's how fantasy football is. Yeah, I might change the captaincy to Saibari once I can actually see my team and change it. I think Vinicius versus Saibari is an interesting one. Who would you captain from Group C? So let's go for that as a poll as well. Vinicius Jr. Let's go for Hakimi. I don't think anybody else really comes into it. Let's put Cunha in there. Yeah, you can. The only concern is if they play in the same group. Remember, in this game, it's different. So it's not like UCL Fantasy where it's one player per day. It's literally just one player per match. Obviously, right now, for example, you've got 2 games happening at the same time. It's going to be for every single group. So it's a bit different dynamic to match days 1 and 2. As long as you have players from different groups, you're going to be fine. And you can make substitutions. I finished Vinland Saga. It's a good show. It's not my favorite, but it's a pretty decent one. Which matches have caught your eye or will catch your eye on match day 3? Colombia-Portugal should be a good one. Spain-Uruguay, although I think Spain will win quite handsomely. Yeah, I think that would be 2 of the standouts. I like Scotland-Brazil. That should be a good one. Ecuador-Germany, although it's going to be a rotated Germany side. Yeah, those would be the best ones on paper. I think Algeria-Austria could be better than people think. So that would also be added into the list. We're very close now to 200 likes. Let's be sure to do that. Thank you very much. Vargas and Manzambi criminally underrated and underpicked. Yeah, it's just facing Canada and Switzerland aren't exactly the most reliable of teams, especially offensively. But yeah, maybe one of them could do the job. I'm just not sure which one. I went with Saka. Hope he stays under 5%. He probably would, to be fair. Looked great both times he came on. Is apparently ready to start. Yeah, he's a massive upgrade on Madueke as well. Dzeko almost scored. Not surprised. Great record for Bosnia. 73 goals for them. Dylan, don't forget to put Pickford instead of the other goalkeeper. I will. Thank you. Like I said, obviously, it's not like I made a big mistake and I can't undo it. So that's already done. Thanks for reminding me. This is already locked in. So yeah, I went for the differential route in my defense. I'm going to play around a little bit with some possible transfers for match day 4. Obviously, we don't know who's going to go through yet in some cases, but I think the template front three, it's fair to say, especially with the added 5 million budget, is going to be Harry Kane, Mbappe, and Messi. I'm going to get rid of Salah for the knockouts. I'm probably going to bring in Yamal, to be fair. I'd bring in Yamal. Vinicius, possibly. Somerville, I think, would come in still. I'd get rid of Mane and probably Saibari. That's where I'd probably go for Elise. Yeah, I think so. Maybe Saka could come back into things. Bruno Fernandes. It's not too bad. No Otamendi. I'd go for Emi Martinez, potentially. Maybe Emi Martinez with Pickford. Yeah, get rid of Doué and Shadi Riyad. Maybe Konsa too. I don't mind Dumfries for now. I'd go for an Argentina defender. So that could be Romero, Medina. I think he'll be the starting left back in the knockout stages again. Otherwise, you're looking at Lisandro Martinez. So I could double up on England and Argentina. Laporte, I don't mind so much. So that's like some initial ideas for Matchday 4. And I'll be using the qualification booster. But it all depends on the matchups as well, because I might also play a little bit into that chip and just go all in on teams that I think will go through. And to be fair, that's probably going to be the case for my wildcard squad, or my unlimited transfer squad, I should say. Maybe Germany needs a bit of coverage. So that could be Kimmich or Brown. Yeah, one of those two would come in. Not much money in the bank for the rest. I have gone very expensive in certain areas, which might not be feasible. Yeah, maybe instead of Elise, might need to be something a bit different. That's where Verts could come into play. I wouldn't mind Gakpo or Havertz up front. Possibly over Kane. Because if I did that, it gives me a lot of money. And then I could do something like this. And then I can go for maybe Saka and Elise. Obviously, I wouldn't have enough money for my budget defender. Let's go for Medina. So 2 million over budget. Maybe Saka's the one I'd downgrade a little bit. Yeah, I'd still want Kane, to be fair, over Gakpo. But it all depends on the fixtures. Kane and then 4.7 in the bank. Go for a budget midfielder like Nakamura, and I still don't have enough money. But not too far away with this setup. Pickford and Martinez. Yeah, that's about right. Not too bad. It might have to be Dumfries making way, and I can go for a differential Dutch defender. So that could be Van Heck. So that's like an initial plan for the unlimited transfers for Matchday 4. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. It's not going to be perfect, and there's going to be things that change. Maybe some of these players don't go through to the next round. Such is the nature of the beast of the World Cup. I gave Brahim Diaz captaincy instead of Saibari. Well, you still have time to change it, to be honest, but I prefer Saibari. Who's going to be the semi-finalists? Difficult to say, because the remaining fixtures will play a big part of Matchday 3. But just like the likes of Argentina, Spain, France, England, that would be my sort of top 4 prediction, but maybe one team will play the other early in the competition, so that's not going to be possible. Yeah, clean sheet, shield confirmed. Going with a rogue one, Kang In Lee as a mid over Mane and Salah. Yeah, I don't think he's special, but he's a good player, and I think he's probably the best from South Korea. And I've gone for something very different to you, and your play is definitely differential, so all the best with that. Thanks as well for helping me reach the Super Chat goal today. Much appreciated to everyone who sent in one. Falcon says, how much do you have left? 0.6 in the bank after building this squad. It's just not bad, but it's provisional, and yeah, we'll see what happens there. I think Saibari could be my captain against Haiti, with Vinicius being the next one in line. Qatar might be the worst team playing in this World Cup. Atrocious. Yeah. Dylan, don't forget the Germans. Yeah, I've got one in Brown, but I just don't really like their attackers so much in terms of like long term. Like, don't get me wrong, Undav and Havertz are good, but Would I pick them over Gakpo? Possibly, but not over Kane, Mbappe, and Messi. Took a chance with Diomande. Looks pretty good. I think Ivory Coast are looking solid for this week. Locked in, wishing you guys all the best. Hoping this wildcard will bring good results. I need a strong match day after all of this. Or is it? Or Sativa. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Maybe I need to be cultured. Bosnia really testing the Qatari goalkeeper early. No surprises there. Yeah, I'm expecting Bosnia to score a goal or two. Wow. Vasilj and Diao in goal. Conan and do a double up. Hopefully that goes well for you. It is good on paper. Just a matter of can they deliver the clean sheet. I'm a bit traumatized by targeting the Qatar fixture because of Switzerland. Elvedi was such a bad pick, but also unlucky, conceding an extra time or added time of both matches. I went with Diaz over Somerville. Yeah, Brahim Diaz could do well. More likely to start as well. My forward line is Sarr, Gakpo, Diomande. I'm not sure about that one, Chief. I think Mbappe, Kane and Messi might have something to say about that. But Bruggen is 4.9% ownership. Yeah, I almost went for him. In the end, I've gone for Passy. We'll see how that goes. But hopefully I don't need him and Pickford delivers the clean sheet anyway. De Bruyne against New Zealand. Yeah, it's a good pick on paper. I might regret not going for him, but he was very disappointing in the first two match days. Well, Wirtz would be the one in terms of the German attack and midfield, but I'm not sure exactly how he factors in. But I'll talk more about this in the build-up to match day 4. Hopefully by Friday I can get a video available for you, or Saturday, but yeah, we have a very quick turnaround for the deadline. I have 6 players that are eligible for scouting bonus. Yeah, I think I've got 6. So I've got Chadi Riyad. I've got Due. Konsa, Otamendi, and Impassi. So I got 5. Triple up in Ivory Coast. Yeah, I've got just the 1. Would you captain Saibari or Hakimi? Probably Saibari. Clean sheet or qualification chip, tough call. Of when to play them. Qualification chip and match day 4 for me. Just because there are more teams. Easier games to call, I think. Yeah, with the clean sheets, I think you're going to get lower scoring matches later in the competition. Yeah, I'd rather use the clean sheet shield on match day 5 or 6. Maximum captain 7 or 8. Probably 8 for me. But yeah, that's still open. And qualification booster on match day 4. Switzerland putting Canada under pressure. Yeah, we'll see how that ends up paying off. I missed the deadline. You had plenty of time, man, because I've been live for the past 3 hours or so. But yeah, I do feel for you. I'd go for Saibari captain. Hakimi's still good. Nemetcha's a great budget option. That's true. I'd be keen on that one. Thoughts on the new chip? We kind of knew it already. It's something interesting and different in principle. I think it does suit tournament football, and because of the qualification booster as well, it does make you really think about when to play these chips. Otherwise, it'd be too easy. I think this does spice things up a little bit. So at the moment, I think it's a good idea. Mazraoui tenía un 4.1, can't even speak. Mazraoui tenía un 4.8% y ahora que se actualiza veo que está en 5%. Increíble lo mal que funciona la web. Sí, a veces no se sabe cuándo un jugador va a tener menos de 5% o no, pero lo que importa es el ownership antes de que termine la jornada o que termine el deadline. Porque si ahora tiene 5.1, pero dice Matchday Selection 4.8, está bien y va a clasificar para esos puntos adicionales, que va a ser muy bueno. Did you say you have Brown? Yeah, for matchday 3, he's out. This is just a matchday 4 provisional setup that I'm talking about. But yeah, for Germany, I think Wirtz in the midfield, Nemetcha, and then one of Brown or Kimmich would definitely appeal to me. I got 107 points matchday 2, could have been 113 points due to internet disconnecting for the entire day. Couldn't sub in Bruno. That's quite disappointing. Yeah, if I wasn't such an idiot and I went for Somerville and I picked a different 12th man, I would have been really cooking. Yeah, I'm activating the qualification boost on Matchday 4. That's my plan. It always has been, so that's very likely for me. Yeah, and I think I'll use the clean sheet booster on Matchday 5 or 6, and the maximum captainship either on Matchday 7 or 8. No, it's going to be qualification booster. I'm targeting over 100 points again this match day. Yes, but it can be difficult with rotation and a few other sort of like spanners in the works. My wildcard team: Pickford, Munoz, Masuaku, Conan, Dumfries, Rezian, Vinicius, Mane, Brahim Diaz, Kang Lee, Saibari, Gakpo, Kane, Mbappe. Good squad overall, but I don't like the Munoz one. I think against Portugal he will blank. And a few question marks about Kang Lee, but I definitely prefer him over Munoz. My team is Fofana. Is that Bart Verbruggen, Hakimi, De Kuyper, Dumfries, O'Reilly, Tagliafico, KDB, Salah, Mane, Somerville, Saibari, Sarr, Mbappe, Kane. Don't like this. What do you think? Well, I like it. Few question marks about De Kuyper and that Belgian defence, but it's a good fixture on paper. What team has shocked you so far? Cape Verde for sure. I think Ecuador in a bad way. I thought they'd be better. Not scoring against Curaçao or just having any goals in this tournament was quite underwhelming. I also think Ghana have been quite surprising for them to not concede a goal so far in this tournament. So those would be a few names there. Yeah, I think that would probably tick all the boxes. Clean sheet shield better in round of 16 or quarters. Probably, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because you got easier fixtures on paper in the round of 16, but also more open games. I think the deeper you get into the tournament, generally the sort of lower scoring you get. So that could be used on either match day, which is why I said match day 5 or 6 for me is best for the clean sheet shield. Even 7 or 8 could work, but I'd rather use the maximum captainship for those particular game weeks. By the way, you're right about people watching out for time between games. A lot of people slept because of the France game taking 4 hours due to the thunderstorms and couldn't switch their French players, Captaincy to Haaland. Yeah, and I made a late switch to Mbappe in the first place. And yeah, with the sort of like delays, and obviously that meant the France game overlapped with Norway versus Senegal. That was very disappointing, and it meant one less captaincy switch available. But luckily, they both scored the same amount of points. But this could be a big issue in future rounds of the competition. And obviously, we saw this in the Club World Cup last summer. I got 111 on match day 2 and 93 on match day 1, hoping to finish in the top 1,000 as I did in UCL Fantasy this season. Good luck with that one. And yeah, I'm quite disappointed by my start in World Cup Fantasy so far, but match day 2 was a step in the right direction. I bought Munoz for the attacking points. Yes, but I just don't see him getting attacking points against Portugal, in my opinion. What are your thoughts about FPL fixture release? I haven't really thought about it too much. I've only really focused on Arsenal's fixtures, but some interesting games. And Arsenal have a relatively difficult start, but obviously Coventry on match day 1 or game week 1 looks quite good. But yeah, I'll talk about FPL in a couple of weeks' time. And yeah, hopefully we can start delving into all the intricacies and all the details about Fantasy Premier League and UCL Fantasy very soon. Hey, Dylan had to go. I locked my team as Verbruggen, Pickford, Otamendi, probably Tagliafico then. People can't spell him. Dumfries, Hakimi, then Ivory Coast defender, Brahim Diaz, Salah, Saibari, Mane, Enciso, Kane, Dzeko, and Son. Not so sure about Dzeko and Son, to be fair, and it depends on which Ivory Coast defender you've gone for, and same with Argentina, because I don't think Medina, Lisandro Martinez, Romero, or Molina will start. But if you picked Otamendi and Tagliafico, you should be fine. More thunderstorms will come. That weather news release warning before the World Cup. Well, yeah, and it was a point that I've made in several videos. Unfortunately, it can have a big impact. I didn't switch captaincy from Saibari match day 2. That's fair enough. I still probably would have switched it, to be fair, but I was quite hesitant with Vinicius Jr. And yeah, in the end, I only gained 1 point from it. If I was a bit more decisive from an earlier stage, then I would have had Oyarzabal and then probably kept them in the end. Switched Gakpo at last minute to Son. All week I've been trying to convince my uneducated friend Son is good, back from the old Spurs days, so I took Gakpo out for Son. I think Gakpo's a much better option for match day 3, but we'll see how it pans out. but I think the Netherlands will put Tunisia to the sword, and I think Gakpo will do really well here. So, yeah, I'm quite bullish on Cody Gakpo. I have been all week with that one. But yeah, this deadline is over. And thanks to those that have liked this stream, I think we have got to 200. Yeah, we just have. So big up to everyone. Thank you very much. In just 1 or 2 weeks' time, I'll be gifting 10 memberships in the first World Cup Fantasy Deadline stream of July. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And over the next couple of months, FPL and UCL Fantasy content will be headed your way. And obviously for the next month or so, I'll be covering the World Cup in its entirety with best wildcard and team selection videos. With Matchday 4, we can't use the wildcard, so I'll be talking about a few drafts and the best team for the round of 32 and beyond, and discussing my chip strategy with only the 12th man and wildcard being played, of course, on Matchdays 2 and 3. The 12th man was a disaster for me, but I've got the clean sheet bonus shield, or is it the clean sheet shield booster? I've got the maximum captain chip and the qualification chip as well. So those 3 will be used during the knockouts, and I'll be talking about the best time to use every single one of them. And for those that still have the other chips remaining, I'll also be talking about the best windows for those boosters as well. Yeah, match predictor. To be honest with you, I forgot. So it is what it is. Yeah, I'll leave that. It isn't a big deal. I went for Xhaka because he needs to win, and I went for David last week for similar reasons. Unfortunately, forgot to captain David last week, but yeah, if Gakpo starts, he will do well. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams need to do well, or they need to win this week, but it doesn't make them a good fantasy pick. We'll see how it goes. I hope they do well for you, but I'm not a big fan. Thanks for all the help, Dylan. Good luck to everyone in this match day. Likewise, Godsent, and also to Josh. Good seeing you. And a big up to Armband for all the super chats after gifting 10 memberships today. So the likes of Patrick, Lewis Bryce, Cotton, Space, Badjo, Tebgo, Joe Sample, Sensei Ball, good name, and a few others, including Rahul and Sean Williams, enjoy the membership for an entire month. That means early access to my videos, prior to part comments, amongst many other perks. Biggest regret was going for an Ecuador attacker. True. And even Somerville with limited minutes outscored Yeboah. That was a mistake on my part. I even said it when people were sort of pressing me. They're like, oh, Yeboah has the better fixture. Why not him? He's facing Curaçao. And I was saying, well, I think Netherlands could score quite a few goals against Sweden. Not 5-1. I didn't expect that. But for Somerville to be benched and still outscore him that comfortably says it all. Thank you, Ian Mayner. Good luck to you as well. Sativa is another word for marijuana. Oh, I've never had it before, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. Big up as well, Sofair. Yeah, we could hit 300 points. I'm going to need a bit more. I need a massive week to do that, but I'm hoping for the best there. Clean sheet chip getting leaked was annoying. Yes, but with World Cup Fantasy, you always get a bit of controversy. Next Frame says, hey, Dylan, locked in. Yeah, not a big fan of the South Korea coverage, I guess, but maybe I'm wrong. Fofana, Otamendi, Hakimi, Dumfries, Konsa, Somerville, Kangin Lee, Vinicius, Saibari, Lamine, Mbappe, Gakpo, Messi. Yeah, it's a good squad. I'm just not a big fan of the South Korea coverage. But maybe if they keep the clean sheet, that's fine. Kangin Lee, I just think there are better options than the attack. Well, will I keep Saibari captain? It depends on his points. If this question is in Spanish, because I'm not even sure anymore with YouTube. Solo voy a mantener a Saibari como capitán si obtiene muchos puntos, porque puedes cambiar entre partidos. Así que estoy buscando más de 10 puntos para mi capitán. I need a Qatar goal. Both rivals gone Bosnian goalkeeper, but I also need a quadruple from a player they don't have. Fantasy, eh? It makes you wish for the strangest of things. Yeah, not a great rank at the moment. I'm not happy with mine either, but it's very competitive at the moment. We are manifesting a green arrow. Yes, I certainly need it myself. Ozil's bodyguard is my early captain. Wish me luck. Yeah, you might need it. And Shaz, to be honest, it's not like I can pick who gets the membership. Neither can the people who gift them. They click a button and then the 10 people get it. But big up to Ahmad for gifting those. Massively appreciate all your contributions to the channel today. Don't go unnoticed. Potential Argentina versus Cape Verde based on the current matchups if Uruguay lose to Spain. Yeah, but it's too early to say. I think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns when it comes to the round of 32 matchups. I went Ochoa as my first goalkeeper. Hope it goes well. I think he'll start, but with Mexico likely rotating a lot, I think they could concede. Twisted Parky says my team is Fofana. Yeah, I went through that already, mate. Looking decent. Don't mention any Ecuador players, Uruguay defenders, or James Rodriguez. Yeah, they were all very disappointing. I mean, at least Mojica did something on match day 2, but yeah, for him to get 1 point against Uzbekistan is definitely not great. I'm going with Vinicius over Saibari. That was my plan all week, and I might end up doing that anyway. Saibari's winning this poll, by the way, which is quite surprising. Vinicius is second with 39%. Then Ikimi and Cunha make up the rest. So Cunha is a massive differential when it comes to match day 3 for the Group C fixtures. I picked a team based on my heart, not based on some creative video. Well, you should always back your gut feeling, not necessarily your heart, but also thinking logically about picks, not necessarily copying others. I always tell people to do that, but sometimes it falls on deaf ears. My team based in Norway, Viking row, rowing for the ranks. Fair enough. Not sure if Norway will row that well against France, but we'll see. Dylan, where's our good friend Twisted Parky? He's literally chatting right now. Is there a Fantasy Anonymous? I'm doing terrible, but still stressed on wildcard for 2 hours. Yeah. Well, that's what football does to you, mate. It's only been 5 minutes, mate. Let's see. Right, let's do that. Where's that bomb booklet? That's annoying. Okay, that should work. But yeah, this is the closest to a therapy session you're going to get when it comes to fantasy football. Yeah, it is completely random. Josh says, one day I'll try to win a membership. I remember when, if I saw his name, I'd recognize him, give out a lot of memberships, but you're my favorite fantasy YouTuber, and if I ever get spare money, I'd buy one. Yeah, it's all good, and I'll be gifting 10 memberships in early July, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. I'm not sure exactly what it's based off. Sometimes it's about who's the most active in the chat without spamming. But yeah, that can help a little bit. If Uruguay beats Spain, we could see an Argentina versus Spain in the round of 32. Yes, but I don't think that'll happen. My team is similar to theirs as well. Yeah, that's why you're hoping for like Bosnian clean sheet wipeouts and stuff like that, which is crazy. Speaking from experience, gut feeling is always the way to go, and never second guess yourself. Yes, overthinking is not good. Goal for Bosnia. Yes, we've got a goal in the building. Can I actually get this game up? Because whenever I try to get the game up while streaming, it doesn't go well. But Qatar, not looking good. That's for sure. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date on my content. Not just for World Cup Fantasy, but also FPL and UCL Fantasy as well. So big up to the whole community for tuning in today and showing a lot of support to the channel. And we are looking to get closer towards 40k, which might be attainable by the time FPL, well, starts in terms of Game Week 1 in a couple of months' time. It will be a later start than usual, of course, with the World Cup. But I'm very much looking forward to that. And UCL Fantasy, which will launch in late August to early September as well. So that should be a good one. But yeah, not exactly the goal scorer we had in mind for Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm not sure anyone watching this stream right now has these players, but if you do, fair play. Cunha is good, but Scotland defence isn't that bad. Can't imagine that game is that high scoring. Yeah, agreed. I think there are better options than Cunha, but obviously that game against Haiti caught everyone's attention. I captained Saibari. I didn't know they have a match at the same time. Every group plays at the same time. So it's different to match days 1 and 2, where they will play differently. And you can change the captaincy and go for Vinicius first, then Saibari. You can't do that here. So you pick one player for the captaincy from each group, and it will be different, of course, for the knockout stages. I had Vinicius, but I didn't think it would be a landslide Brazil game, so I think Scotland might do well. I think it might be a bit cagey, but I'm backing Brazil to win that one. Just going to go for a few more questions. before wrapping up. Yeah, exactly that. Twisted Parky is here. Argentina will face either the runner-up of Spain's group. So, well, yeah, they will face the runner-up of Spain's group. So either Uruguay, Cape Verde, based on the bracket that's already released. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But I don't think it will be Spain. Gracias. Si sabía que se podía cambiar, me refería que si ya dejarás a Saibari. Oh, perdón. No está finalizado y te digo la verdad, casi toda la semana lo tenía con Vinicius Jr. Es muy parejo. Quizá voy a usar una moneda y como Two-Face voy a elegirlo de esa manera, pero sí, Vinicius es un poquito más template, es más seguro, pero Saibari está jugando bastante bien y con 2 disparos al arco hizo 2 goles y para mí Haití es un partido muy bueno para Marruecos para que puedan anotar varios goles, así que es muy difícil esa decisión, pero igual tengo Mbappé, Messi y otros jugadores como Gakpo que pueden hacer la diferencia, así que bueno, si no lo tengo bien o si no elijo bien con el capitán, no es el fin del mundo. If I win World Cup Fantasy, I'll gift £100. We'll gift soon anyway. It's all good, Twisted Parky. Thank you very much for everything you've done. But yeah, hopefully you do win World Cup Fantasy anyway, and not for the reason you said afterwards. Qatar back-to-back Asian Cup champions last 2 editions, yet they're the worst here. Yeah, I'm surprised by that. Obviously, you'd think it'd be Japan, who are the best when it comes to World Cups from the Asian teams. Can I still change captaincy after the first match? Yes, you can keep switching from each game, as I covered before. Watch my How to Play World Cup Fantasy video and everything is covered there. I'm afraid of having Kane versus Panama. Panama will play a heavy low block like Ghana do. I think Kane will still score. I almost bought in Basic. Wow. I do have Katic. Hopefully he scores and keeps a clean sheet. Another goal for Bosnia. This time, it's an own goal. Yeah, own goal there. Not looking good for Qatar. Wildcard stressed me out so much. Yeah, and especially when it's like a matchday free wildcard, so it's like 1 game week for it to pay off. It's not like a long-term wildcard, so even if it has like a poor immediate start, you can say, oh, at least long-term it can go quite well. So yeah, I get your feelings and sort of worries there. I've gone for Tagliafico and Ottomani double up. I think both of them will start, yeah. Argentina should rotate quite heavily, with Messi possibly starting still, but the minutes will be not secure. Rumours next World Cup will be 66 teams. I think it might stay with 48, to be honest. And by the way, I think you're referring to 64, not 66, but either way, it's a lot of teams. 48 is already a lot. I went with without Vinicius because I can't captain 2 at the same time. When I last checked, other options didn't clash, but I changed the team and didn't get to check again. Yeah, that's a good point, and that's why maybe going for Yamal would have been even better. I've got no one from Spain's group, so yeah, that would have been pretty decent. OG is the top scorer this World Cup. Yeah, I'm surprised by that because Messi's doing a madness. May as well have the entire national team playing the World Cup. Says easy. No, that's not a good idea. Wildcards give me relief. That's a strange reaction. Very different to Twisted Parky and myself. Xhaka yellow card. It's not looking good, bruv. I don't recommend Xhaka in World Cup Fantasy. To be honest, in this Switzerland-Canada game, there's no one. Watch Elvedi keep his first clean sheet of the tournament when he should have done it in matchday 1 and 2, but the less said about that, the better. Well, I have been going live for the past 3.5 hours, so it has been a blast talking to all of you here. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy the football. And matchday 4 is up next, the round of 32, with the $5 million increase to our budget, and the mystery chip has been revealed and confirmed because, as suspected, it is called the Clean Sheet Shield. So your first goal conceded for your goalkeepers, defenders, and midfielders will not result in lost clean sheet points. Instead, you need the players to concede 2 goals before losing those clean sheet points. But my recommendation is to use the qualification booster on matchday 4. If you haven't done so already, drop a like on the stream, subscribe to my channel, and also hit the notification bell so you're always up to date on my content. World Cup Fantasy, FPL, and the Champions League is all covered on my channel. Check out my Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Dylan RCM. The same goes to my Discord server, and also my World Cup Fantasy League and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on that platform. It goes a long way to boosting us up in the algorithm. If it's 66 teams, maybe England win it. I get that reference. You didn't go for Bono to give you the edge. Oh, bloody hell, you're on one at the moment. What's the bracket overall in the knockout stages? I'm not sure, but they didn't save my one for the group stages, so I'm a bit pissed off about that one. I even did it live on stream, but it didn't save. Great stream, Dylan. Take care. Thank you. I was shouting like a madman over the Argentina game the other day, and even yesterday for England. I was trying to rile up the people watching the England match. I was being a bit of a troll. I was also backing Arsenal. Some nice banter with rival fans. And yeah, I kind of went overboard. So I lost my voice a little bit, and I'm still streaming for like 3.5 hours. So it is what it is. This wildcard was the toughest of them all, Dylan, even if Premier League isn't that hard. Yeah, possibly. But obviously there's more people playing in the Premier League. The template is stronger there. I think in World Cup Fantasy there's a bit more individualism and people going for their own picks, which is good to see. GG there to you as well, Drigger. All right, guys, have a good one. God bless. Take care. The same goes to you. When is FPL Matchday 1 video? Not yet, man. I mean, the World Cup's already bad enough. And yeah, I've got a few ideas for, you know, a piece of content and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm gonna have to like do a lot of graphics in preparation for the content for pre-season. But yeah, we don't even have anything to build off. Not even like projected prices. Maybe I'll do a preliminary draft video and talk about fixtures at some point, but I couldn't really say exactly when. But yeah, hopefully FPL is a good one as well next season. Good luck, Safar. If Italy don't qualify for the next World Cup with more expanded team, may as well retire forever. I think Italy will qualify for the next one, and it's an absolute shambles that they haven't done it for the last 3. See you as well. King Shaz, good to see you. World Cup get more points than FPL. Similar to UCL Fantasy and a lot of these tournaments, you know, on the international stage or the Champions League is a bit like that. You have more expansive matches, maybe, more attacking football. But obviously there are exceptions to that, like England versus Ghana. Thank you very much, Harry Kane. That 12th man went swimmingly. Fantastically well. Fantastic. I'm so happy about that. But what can we do? You sometimes get it wrong, and hopefully I can make up for it with Matchday 3, but you can't cover them all. No Yamal, no Harry Kane. We'll see how that goes, and there are plenty more where that came from. But I did go for some of the best picks for Matchday 3, and we'll see how the wildcard ends up performing. So it is what it is. Waterman for Cape Verde doesn't need a hydration break. Wow, that's like 3 in a row. This guy's on a generational run, moving like Lionel Messi. So yeah, it is what it is. Bosnia, Qatar. Okay, no, it's still going on. I had like a glitch with the scoreline, but that's 2-0. Still goalless between Switzerland and Canada. Bro, I had to come back. Jekko missed, so annoying. Yeah, I'm ending the stream. Yeah, end the stream, end the stream. But it's good talking to you. Still 100 people watching. It's always good. I was even thinking maybe to just like leave it on the... We're going to just answer a few more questions and stuff because we're closing in on the 3.5 hour mark, but that's a bit extra. Tea for England in the hydration break. Yeah, I had a tea this morning, which maybe wasn't the best idea because it's so bloody hot, but yeah, tea still comes pretty good and it comes in handy, but water is even better. I had a hydration break on myself, or my own in this stream. Yeah, I'm well aware of that. Waterman from Panama. I still got the reference. Yeah, I was aware that it wasn't an actual hydration break you're referring to. You're just chatting nonsense as you usually do, Mr. Twisted Parky. We don't want you to go, Dylan. I know, at least for the 100 people or so that are still tuning in, but it's massively appreciated. There'll be plenty of streams in the future, don't worry, for World Cup Fantasy, FPL, and the Champions League. It's always good talking to you, Dylan. Also, yeah, the hydration break in the stream was generational. Yeah, no, I had to, and I also went to get like a cold beverage. I needed it, and the drink is like warm at this point, so yeah, it's not exactly in the best shape. So yeah, it looks like Qatar have scored 2-1 Bosnia. Good luck, people. Likewise, Twisted Parky, and keep up the puns. Waterman and Blackman coming in clutch. Yeah, BR. What, like Unai Emery, even though he says VAR. He says, beer. No. I'm so happy. Also, I was on the phone. I have Ottomanian, Tagliafico, and Singo. I don't think Singo's going to play. He's injured, actually. I think he's ruled out for Matchday 3. So yeah, that's not a good one. Yeah, I don't mean to, piss on your parade or ruin your hopes, but I'm just being honest. I did cover it throughout the stream. But yeah, I'm very happy I didn't go for Kolasinac. I just didn't like the Bosnian defense, and I learnt my lesson the hard way with Switzerland conceding in extra time for both matches during the group stages. Half show Dylan in the final. Not sure about that one. Warm drink cools you down, though. Your body reacts, but tea is, yeah, diuretic. Yeah, that's true. In the end, the tea was kind of cold. I let it cool down a little bit in the morning. I had a iced frappe before starting the stream, and that's why I had to go to the toilet as well. Let's not get into too many details. Yeah, sorry about that, Josh, but hopefully you can get some points elsewhere. 8 PM fixtures, who the hell cares anyway? Nothing good till 11. Yeah, Brazil-Scotland should be a good one. That's the one I'll be watching, but I'm going to tune into these matches now in the second half. It's just for some bloody reason I can't get the matches up while streaming. Hopefully I can fix that in time for the next deadline stream so I can actually react live to some of these games, and plenty of goals. There is a bit of that sort of heritage where I'm still going live, maybe I'm ending my stream, and then goals start flying in the Champions League, World Cup, and the Euros, which I cover on this channel. But thanks everyone, you know the drill by now. Subscribe, like, hype, all that good stuff, and share this with those that love FPL, UCL Fantasy, and the World Cup. There's going to be a lot of content for those competitions over the coming months, but right now the full focus is on the grandest stage of them all when it comes to international football. Take care, enjoy the World Cup over the next month or so. I'll see you very soon on the 28th of June for the next deadline stream, which, if I'm not an absolute idiot, should be this Sunday, and there'll be plenty of content in between. Let's get those green arrows, end the group stages as strongly as possible, and build a very strong foundation for the knockout stages.